Rose City. Time for Dirt and Swing on Portland Sports Leader 1080 The Fan.
There it is. There it is.
There we go. Hype horn's working.
What
it is
happening?
not broken.
No, we're still hyping it up.
We are still hyping it up.
Much to the chagrin of some in our audience who still don't like the hype horn at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Well, what do you want me to do?
It's a controversial topic amongst the Dirt and Sprague audience.
I once in a while listen to NPR OPB radio coming in and like,
Good
hello,
morning.
good morning. Welcome into NPR.
It is 6:01.
Do-do-do.
The news is next.
First in Washington, we've got politicians lying every other day.
I do find myself, I do that sometimes too on my way, and I'm like, let's just check on the news. Let's see what's happening. Let's see if the world's going to end today. Will we make it to Tuesday? Let's find out. And I find myself after about 10 minutes of driving, like I'm falling more asleep than I was in the first place. I need something to get my blood pumping a little bit.
That's kind of what I think. So I think even if like it annoys you, it at least is alerting you that something's happening.
Hey!
We're not ESPN.
Hey, we're live. We're local. We're here.
Moving.
Happy Monday, everybody.
Shaking. How's everybody's weekend?
We had a good weekend, man. Good weekend. Got out, played some golf. Took Teddy ball game to the pool for the first time.
Oh, yeah? How'd that go?
It was good. Then we didn't realize that we should probably give him a bath afterwards. That didn't really compute in our heads.
Oh, yeah, the chlorine.
Yeah, didn't really cross our minds too much. He's got a little bit of dry skin here or there, a little eczema.
Oh, yeah,
He's a white.
He's a white.
He's dealing with the white problems.
Yep.
And we didn't realize that. And later in the day, we're like, why is he like more red than usual?
Right.
Let's Google this. And we Googled it, and we're like, we're going to need to give him a bath before he goes to bed. Thankfully cleared up by Sunday, but there was a brief moment. It looked like he was getting attacked by some random insect that was in our house that caused a bit of a panic in the Dirt household. It's
a nice reminder. I don't know why, but it went through my head last week. I was washing my cars. Unlike my wife didn't ask me to. It just was like,
I'm going to wash the cars.
A little dirty. I haven't washed them in a long time.
Yeah.
And I watched it, and I went, nobody teaches you how to be an adult. You just kind of learn as you go.
You figure it out.
And it's the same with parenting.
Yes.
It's like you know what you saw growing up from your parent or parents, and you try to apply the thought, but nobody gives you a manual when those things are born. It's like you're just going to learn as you go. Good luck to you.
Yes. I was thinking about this the other day. We took so many birthing classes prior to the birthing process. Which is important. I mean, it's important, right? You need to know, like count to 10. You're breathing, you're holding, here's your position. Those are all, it's a very stressful time for her, not for me. We're getting through it.
Find out what to expect.
Yeah. So there's some things that you learn from it. But I chuckled at the notion of why wasn't there like a 3-week series on, okay, when he comes, here's what you're going to want to do. Right. Here are some activities for you. Here are some strategies.
Yeah.
Why don't you try? We didn't take any of those classes.
They don't offer them.
The birthing process was like 8 hours, and then it was over, and then it's like, all right, you're on your own. Figure it out from here.
It really is remarkable. People were texting this in, I think, when Teddy was born and you were left. People were like, it's crazy. They just let you take a human home.
Yeah, after like 2 days.
They don't even know like what your situation is. They don't know if you're in a house or
no clue.
They'll put you in jail if you don't take it home.
Right. You get in more trouble if you don't take that human home.
You can't stay here, man. I'm not paying those hospital bills. You know how expensive that was?
There's no vetting. There's no like, hey, you grew up in this environment. Let's offer a mental health therapist for this area of their life. Probably traumatized. Need to help this next kid.
The wife was very stressed about it because she thought, how did we not realize this? And I'm like, well, it is a pretty
normal to not know things like that.
We should have probably thought maybe we should rinse him off after getting him in the pool for the first time. It probably should have dawned on us, but I had to give her the motivational speech of like, this is parenting. You learn, and now next time we take him to a pool, what do we know to do?
Yeah.
Boom. It served its purpose. He's okay. Skin's gotten better the next day. We have learned our lesson, and now next time we take him swimming, which we will at some point again this summer before it's over, we're going to rinse him off after we get home.
So I think you're both right. So if you would have texted me, I got a 5 a.m. dirt text this weekend.
You did, yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know what's happening in that house, but for him to be up at 5 a.m.
Then I made the mistake of going back to bed. Then I was groggy.
I thought you did. Yeah, that's a big mistake.
It was a bad idea.
If you would have been like, hey, he's got this skin thing in the pool, I'd say, Dirt, it's okay to not know some things about parenting. It happens all the time.
Should probably rinse them off.
Don't you shower when you're done swimming in the pool?
Yeah.
I mean, not always.
I
If
mean,
I'm going to be
oh,
honest.
really?
Not all. I mean, I don't. When was the last time I haven't swam in a pool in a long? I guess I technically did this weekend.
I probably
got
do
in
it a
with
little more than you because I have slightly older children, and so
Sure.
we go to pools. But I always feel a little ugh,
a little sticky.
a little weird
Okay.
when I get out of those pools.
I mean, my neighborhood has a saltwater pool, and there's a shower there.
Ooh, that's a fancy
Saltwater
swimming
pool.
Before and after it
Man.
says
Humble
please
brag.
rinse off, even though there's no chlorine. And
Yeah.
trust me, I don't want that kid pee on me, so no, I'm gonna rinse
Yeah.
that off.
That's a valid point. I mean, I should shower after I swim too. So maybe this is my fault that I'm just a weird degenerate that doesn't always shower after he
Your
swims.
name
And
is
so
Dirt.
I put my son in the pool, and I thought he's fine. He's good to go.
Your nickname is Dirt.
I mean,
to be fair.
he was in the water. Technically, he's taking a bath. Basically, he's just flopping around in the water. It's technically getting a bath in there.
It's funny you mentioned the pool, and we had text something, and he responded like, "Man, it's crazy. Sometimes we think the same things without talking about this at all."
We do.
And it's funny you bring up pool. We might be in the buying a pool business.
You're getting a pool,
We're kicking around the like really kicking
Like
around
a
the
real
idea.
pool?
like
Not
digging
like
down into the ground.
No, I don't have big enough space for that.
Okay.
I'd have to take trees out, and it'd be a whole thing.
Above ground pool guy.
But like a quality above ground pool, not a kiddie pool, not a stock tank,
Yeah.
not a horse trough, an actual like 3 to 5 foot tall kind of pool. But there's a lot of research going on into that now.
I'm a little jealous because I've always wanted to do that.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to be following this closely to see, is it worth it? Do you like it? How often do you use it?
Yep.
My biggest question is the heating mechanism, because I think that's the most untalked about aspect of a pool, is that if you don't have a heated pool,
It's not going to be heated.
it's not.
It'll be filtered, but it won't be heated.
Okay.
Those above ground ones, I mean, I'm sure there's somebody that's going to be like, oh, actually.
Well,
Well, there are heaters for those. It's
Yeah.
2024.
Come on, get a heater. Spring, you got that big radio money over there.
Yeah,
Let's
I got
go.
that big, oh, man.
Above ground heated pool. I'm
No,
jumping in.
what-
Dirt's
Dive
coming
in,
over.
spend all my money on the stock market's hitting crap.
What you just described was the pool of the poor kid that I went over and visited in middle school. Like, seriously, it's like, hey, man, you want to come and swim in my pool? Absolutely, I want to come and swim in the pool.
Is it
It's
heated?
above ground. It's 4 feet tall, and it is cold as hell, and grass is
So
floating
you
around
want me
the
to have
top
like a
of it.
78-degree
Yes.
heated above ground
yes.
pool?
That'd
Kids
be
want that
delightful.
too.
That'd be delightful. Because you're not going to realize how long this pool's going to take to warm up.
Yeah.
That's the part that
Well,
you're
I
not
don't think it
thinking
will
about.
warm up. I think it just always be cold.
You just want a cold tub.
Again, I'm in the research business, and I just started this last night, so
Kids-
I'm sorry.
I want to know how long it takes once this is purchased for the kids to complain that the water's too
And
cold.
then never go
and
in
then
it.
it's
And
too
I'm like,
cold, Dad. It's too cold.
glad we spent all this money.
I remember
$1,000
I
down
went,
the hole.
I went to Arizona last year, and one of the things that we were looking for when we were renting a place was to get have a pool.
Mhm.
We're going to Sunshine. It's March in Arizona. The highs are like in the 80s. I want to go lay next to a pool, jump in a pool. It's like 42 degrees and raining back in Portland. We get there. I am jacked out of my mind. Got there late one night. Next morning, wake up. It's sunny outside. Woo, it's going to be a beautiful day.
Right.
I go dip my toe in the pool. Not heated. Now, they don't do it in Arizona because it's 8,000 degrees in the summer, and so you don't necessarily, because the water just stays warm from June to basically October because it's so hot. And the disappointment on my face of not having a heated pool, it almost ruined the vacation.
So when we went to Vietnam in December, it was in the 70 to low 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a couple hotels we were staying at. And the first one we landed at in Da Nang was at the rooftop of a nice hotel.
Ooh.
So the breakfast buffet was the best breakfast buffet we ended up having on the whole trip. And so we got excited. It was a little overcast, but I'm like, there's a pool upstairs. Let's go.
Let's go jump in that pool.
What they don't tell you about countries like Vietnam is Vietnam's like 10 years behind where we are.
Ah.
Technology's not quite there yet.
Buddy, not a heated pool.
No.
It was frigid. It was freezing. My kids swam for 10 minutes. That's about all they could handle. And I
Yeah,
said,
I'm out.
well, this was-
Feeling lush until you jump in the pool, right?
yeah.
Now, somebody is saying they have an above ground pool and a heater is not needed.
Oh.
So maybe it heats better because it's above the ground and it's not as cold as it's because it's below the ground. I don't know what the
Well,
protocol
also,
is here.
Look, we're in Oregon. We know what it is. I understand that like there's probably a draining system
Yeah.
every year.
Yeah, pour the water out.
Look, I don't know if I'm going to do it, but we're really kicking around the idea. My daughter's like, why don't we get a kiddie pool? And I'm like, I've done that 3 times in your life.
No, it's not worth it.
We did it when you were a baby. You liked it. Then you kind of stopped. We stopped. It gets dirty. Let's get rid of it. Then we
Right.
bought one when you were like 7. Oh, I want a kiddie pool. You stop using it. It gets dirty. We get rid of it. I bought a third one.
Yeah.
And like the same thing happens every time you get those colorful, kiddie
Inflatable pools.
Not
that
even
get-
the plastic ones.
Oh, even the plastic. Oh, those are worse.
It just is like every time you think, oh, this would be a good idea, we'll just lounge in it. It's like nobody uses
No.
it. They use it like 3 times. It gets dirty. It
No.
gets gross. It takes up space. No, thank you.
You gotta unravel that thing and
Yeah.
fold it up. It's like folding a fitted sheet. Good luck folding that and getting back into the box. And it's all dirty on top of it too.
Dude, we got
'cause
an
you used
inflatable
it.
pool
Oh,
and
it's the
moved
worst.
in. It got punctured.
Yeah.
And it just was like, and then it was just gross. I'm just like, okay, what a waste of my time.
Yeah, you either got to go big or you got to go home
I
on this
know.
one. If you're doing a pool, you got to do it right, or you just, let's find a neighbor with a pool or have a neighborhood pool.
There's no neighborhood pool, and there's no neighbor with a pool.
Yeah.
Come and swim in mine.
Saltwater pool is pretty clutch.
Yeah.
Saltwater pool is
Come
a
on over, guys.
big humble brag for a Monday morning from Schulte.
Well,
Throw
Chris
barbecue.
Paul, I like to go to TMZ once in a while. Chris Paul's selling his house in L.A., and there's photos of these stars and these celebrities in their homes.
Of course.
Saltwater pool, hot tub right next to it.
Yeah.
I mean, I looked at this and I went, why would you ever sell or move from this
No,
house?
seriously.
Backyard's dialed. He's got a deck up, or not a deck, but he's got like a balcony out of a room. Below it, he's got like sliding doors that like open up, and so it's like basically an extension of your house to go outside. I'm just like, why would you ever move from here?
What's better than that? Although,
And then I'm like, he's worth $200 million. He can go buy everything better than that.
that's true. Our pool does not have a hot tub, so I'm actually kind of doing the same thing you've been doing with the above ground pool. I'm looking at the inflatable hot tub. So I've been looking at that for like a year or so, and
yeah.
really, like I'm mad I missed a Black Friday sale like 3 years ago where I could have gotten like a nice Coleman one for like $150. I mean, it was just dirt cheap at Walmart, and I just missed like this, just kind of them getting rid of like whatever.
Where's
they
the
had in
trust level in a
warehouse.
$150 inflatable hot tub?
No, it's the same one that's on sale now for $400. It was
Okay.
just them trying to clear some stuff out, but it's like 2 adults maybe can fit in it.
Well,
So
my stepsister
That's
did this,
the
Schulte,
problem.
because I was like, inflatable. That seems like a mistake.
it's like a raft.
My stepsister got one, and they still use it.
Hell
They've got
yeah.
a dog, too, a really crazy big dog, and hasn't punctured it. They swear by it.
That's a good sign.
That's given me some hope. I'm thinking like I put it in the garage, so then in the wintertime I can use it. If I want to. In the summertime, I can open up the garage. It's cold, it's hot. Like either way, I can enjoy the comforts of a hot tub. I am 95% sold on this. So
Hot tub sounds like a good idea. What's my bill increase with a pool, too, is what I was wondering,
Yeah, the water increase, the
filter's
electricity.
always running. Like, God, dude.
well, and if you did
filter.
get a heater, that's where the
Oh,
increase
yeah.
is.
That's where the cost
Yeah.
is. Yeah, to keep that thing heated.
See, now I'm talking myself out of this. Cheapskate Sprague's back.
You're gonna go cold water pool. It's kind of a cold plunge in the winter if you want it to be that way. January, February, go get your cold plunge on.
I think you have to drain those above ground pools.
You can't keep water in it all
I
year.
think if they freeze, it like quite literally rips your pool apart. It's like, hey, what happened?
yeah, a
Well,
little
it's a salt
skating
block,
rig, dude. We'll
guys.
come over and play some pond hockey in the Sprague's backyard.
Oh man, look at us, pool boys.
Pool boy.
Welcome in. Happy Monday, everybody.
I would love an above ground hot tub and an above ground pool.
Be nice.
I'm gonna come hang out at both your houses once you get these figured out. All right.
Well, we got a good show today. There is a lot to discuss. Let's start with our favorite things from the week, and that comes with some audio. Dirt and Spray. Good to be with you on this Monday morning. We start next on The Fan.
The Fan.
All right, we got to be on time because we have a guest dirt live, 6:30 a.m., joining us from Paris, France.
We're going boots on the ground.
We're going boots on ground. Our good friend Andrew Greif, formerly of the LA Times. Boy, talk about bouncing back in a big way. He is writing for GQ, NBC News. He's covering the Olympics.
That's pretty cool. You're going to spend a summer in Paris.
That's badass.
Of all the assignments you could get, that one's got to be near the top of the list.
He wrote a profile piece on GQ of Noah Lyles, and he covered the 100-meter race yesterday. We'll get to that in a second. Our favorite things from the weekend. I want to start in Major League Baseball.
Ooh.
My team sucks. They lost the series to the Marlins, but that's not it. My favorite thing in the weekend is the Chicago White Sox, who you asked our guest on Friday if they're quite literally the worst team in pro sports. And I think they are. They have lost 20 straight games.
Woo.
They're looking to tie the 88 O's for 21.
Is that the all-time record?
26 is what my gambling producer shot me yesterday,
Okay.
and that's from the 1888 season.
That doesn't count.
Okay.
That doesn't count.
They're aiming to achieve this record. They lost 20 games in a row. Here's their manager, Pedro Grifol.
We put up 7 runs on 12 hits. Baldwin had a really big day. Vaughn had a big day. Benny, with the double and the homer. So, there are some positive things in this loss. But at the end of the day, we've lost 20 in a row. And that's painful. That sucks. And we just gotta find a way to put that behind us and come out there and be professionals and do what we got to do tomorrow.
Dirt, there's a lot of positives to take away from our 20th straight loss. They haven't won in 3 weeks, and now people are wondering if they will break the all-time losing streak record.
It reminds me of like a Chance post game when the Blazers lose by 60 for the second time in a year, and it's like, well, Scoot had 13 points in the third quarter, though. So, you got to find those silver linings when you lose 20 consecutive games. They scored 7 runs in the finale against the Twinkies yesterday.
God.
We got to find silver linings. We got to find positives. It's unbelievable. They are 60 games below 500.
So Ozzie Guillen on NBC Chicago said if you took their 20-game losing streak and their 14-game losing streak, because they've got both.
Yeah, 34 games.
If you took those out, they would still have the worst record.
Yes, because they're 60 games below 500. So quick math tells me they'd still be, 26 games below 500, even if you took out those 2 losing streaks?
Unbelievable.
That math kind of checks out in my head, so we'll run with it. It is embarrassing that they're that bad. I didn't pull any audio from it. It happened on Friday night, and I watched it. I'm not watching every game because it's painful, and I'm playing NCAA football more now. Blake Snell threw a no-hitter on Friday.
Yeah, he threw a no-no.
He threw a no-no.
Yeah.
And Bob Melvin let him go.
Yeah.
Which was great because he was at, I want to say, 99 pitches after the 7th inning, and that's a guy who has been injured basically all year. They've been waiting for him to show up and be the Cy Young Award winner, Blake Snell, which he has been over the last 3 weeks. He's been outstanding, and they let him finish. And in so many examples of coaches, managers who take their pitchers out because they're scared and they don't want them to throw too many pitches. It's a once-in-a-lifetime. Blake Snell's never thrown a no-hitter before. It's his first one of his career. It's an opportunity to put another pin in his cap of a great career and winning multiple Cy Youngs. And so that was really cool to watch on Friday night.
My brother-in-law alerted me of this. I was at my niece's soccer match, and we went and got something to eat afterwards, and he goes, I think he confused me with somebody else because he goes, yeah, your guy Blake Snell.
Hey, your guy.
I was a Giants fan. Go Braves. But he
team.
goes, hey, your guy Blake Snell. He's throwing a no-no right now.
No going. Come on.
I didn't say this to him, but in my head, I'm like,
Yeah, I know.
that's cool.
That's good. Yeah.
I think what's cool about it is the fact that he was allowed to finish it.
Yes.
That it's like it's such an achievement. He talked about it in the postgame, like, hey, what are you gonna say now? Like, I've kind of accomplished everything as a pitcher.
Everybody says you can't go deep, can't throw that many pitches.
Right.
He's like, what are we gonna do now?
And he did it, and it's obviously an amazing feat, but it's almost like the idea that you're allowed to do it is almost as impressive as actually doing it.
That's almost the news at this point now when you see a no-hitter. It's the fact that the manager actually let the pitcher finish the game. And it was kind of a fun finish. It was Ellie De La Cruz was the last out of the game. And so you have their star player, the crowd's on their feet.
It's a hell of a way to end it.
All right, last out, and he swung at the first pitch and hit a fly ball to right field, and he was out. But it was a fun Friday night of baseball.
My other favorite thing was yesterday. I don't know how this wasn't. We'll go to NBC Sports on the call.
There's an Olympic gold medal waiting for somebody who wants it the most. Now Thompson starts to wind up. Curry's going with him. This is close. Jamaica's going to do it. Kishane Thompson is a gold medalist on debut. We thought it was going to take 9.7 to win. Guess what? He just ran 9.78. But it There was a lean at the tape by Thompson. Visually, we think he got it. They're working on the photo. Fred Curley pushed him all the way. Noah Lyles is looking anxiously.
So that was NBC Sports because everybody that watched this thought the same thing. That Jamaican runner won that race. And I've looked at this a million times. Now, Michael Johnson's one of my favorite track athletes, obviously 96, the gold shoes.
The gold shoes.
He's working for NBC, and he watched the replay, and he wasn't live, but he watched it, and he told everybody that Lyles won. And I understand that it's like your hip, not your foot. I've watched this a million times, and I give Noah Lyles the credit for winning. I just can't see how he won, but he won.
I don't see it.
By 5 thousandths of a second. For perspective of that, that's faster than us blinking.
Yes.
Is what the margin was. The last place runner, by the way, of these 8 runners in the 100 meters, the last place runner would have won the 88 gold and beat Carl Lewis. That's how fast these dudes are.
Damn it, I was born in the wrong generation.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
I'm glad that you had the same reaction because I've looked at this video and this picture a million times.
I still can't see it. I mean, I've seen everything, the rendering computer-generated ones, the photos. I've seen it a million times. I just don't see how he did it, but he did it, and I'm glad he did it.
So is there a certain body part crossing the finish line? That's how it's decided?
Yeah, I heard them saying it's the collarbone. They don't do the face. They don't do the feet first.
It's the collarbone?
It's the collarbone. So what it's essentially like center mass because anybody can lean forward. They're trying to give everybody the most even shot possible at the win. And I thought that I did see there was like a little lean of. I mean, it is literally that close.
They're leaning. There's leaning.
You see Noah Lyles is like torso, his shoulders kind of start to cross that line first, and that is what got him the gold.
Okay, I'm going to give you some hot takes on this. This is like me chiming in on soccer.
Yeah, he's the world champion, by the way.
He
you can't
is.
question that world
No,
champion.
he is the world.
Years.
Which is cool. I'm glad that we have the fastest guy again. Like we haven't had that in a while.
Gatlin was the last one.
Was the last one.
04.
That was a long time ago, man. And I was seeing videos and pictures of Usain Bolt and how he just was 10 feet ahead of everybody when he was winning his gold medals of just how much faster he was. So this is cool that we're back on top. As I got a frog in my throat. Shouldn't it just be the first thing that crosses the finish line?
I can kind of understand both arguments.
I mean, there's a line.
In
racing to the
it's-
line.
In car racing, it's whatever.
It doesn't have to be your back tire. It doesn't have to be your bumper. It doesn't have to be your windshield wiper. It's whatever. Whoever crosses the line first. But shouldn't this be the same?
Yeah, but in that sense,
didn't he technically get there quicker? If something of his body, because the Jamaican guy's toe crossed the line first.
I thought most of his body did.
I did
well,
too.
But
in the freeze frame that they have, I swear his toe is like over the line.
It is.
And Lyle's toe is not over the line yet. And then I'm like, wait, how did he? That's how I got confused.
What also isn't it kind of like diving into first? Like it happens, but like very rarely. I don't know. I could see both arguments.
Yeah, I'm
not
confused.
enough of a track expert to really have an argument with you or debate on it. I just know I watched it and I thought the same thing NBC thought. I was like, oh, dude, the Jamaican guy won. Lyles lost. Boy, talked a lot of ass about the basketball players calling themselves world champions.
He did.
And how he wants to be the greatest athlete of all time. And, he didn't win it. Oh, wait, he won it? Wait, how did he win it? Oh, my God, he won it. USA! USA! That was real-time me yesterday watching the 100-meter race. All that was in 30 seconds, by the way.
30 seconds.
All I know is watching it live, I didn't know that he won officially, but I think it was obvious enough to people watching that it wasn't. At first, it was like, okay, yeah, Jamaican runner wins, but it was like, hold on, I thought I saw Lyles cross first. That's kind of what went through my head.
You thought he did because he went up to the Jamaican runner and said, I think you got
congratulated him.
Yeah,
he ran up and tapped him on the back.
No, I thought, initially I'm like, oh, okay, wait, Jamaican? Nope, no one, okay, no, it's Jamaican. Okay, no, it's American. All right, let's go. That's kind of,
So his next one, he's looking to get 4 golds here. Hasn't happened in a long time for a U.S. men's track athlete. The 200-meter, the semis and the round ones, all that happened. The round one is today. Semis are on Wednesday, and then the final for that is on Thursday.
Okay, so we got a couple more chances at it.
And he's already come out and basically said, I'm winning the 200
I'm
meters.
the greatest of all time.
Smoke these cats. Boy, this guy is braggadocious, but he's backing it up and winning gold.
It's what you need for track and field, man. It gets me excited and I want to watch. Now, I had not seen hardly anything in the Olympics live. This was when I was walking from one room to the other, and the wife had it on, and I'm like, oh, look at this. It was the 4x100 where they go alternate men, woman, man, woman. And it was like the race was literally starting as I walked into the room, and they run 4 laps, so it doesn't take that long. I'm like, I'm going to watch this. Let's see. The Americans were leading the entire way. The Netherlands ends up winning it, and the last gal catches us and catches, I think, a gal from the UK, just blitzes them on the home stretch. And I come to find out later, there was somebody who went viral at a track event recently, and we lost in this race to Mickey Mouse.
When you're putting your mind to it, you know exactly what to do indoors. How was that for you?
Oh, it was amazing. I mean, it was such a strong race. We were all running so fast, multiple running in the 50s, so I knew I had to go out fast. I had Lieke in front of me, so I wanted to be in front, and I could hear how brave she was behind me, so I was like, okay, this is good, now we keep going, and this crowd is so amazing.
Man.
We lost to Mickey Mouse.
Almost a dead ringer to Mickey.
The last 100 meters, we lost to Mickey Mouse. I think her name is Femke Bol, I think is how you say her name. But
she should have ended it with a
woohoo. She was unbelievable to watch, and then it went viral on social media that was her. We lost to Mickey Mouse in this race.
Like, you're going to lose to somebody. Mickey Mouse is pretty great.
Not a bad thing to lose to. We also, I know we're against it. We had somebody lost a chance at winning a medal because of their unit in the high jump. Did you see that highlight?
I missed that. I saw a guy with a pole. What is it? What's the stick in the ground? Where is it? Pole vaulting?
That's what I'm talking about. Where he's trying to go over the bar. Is that pole vaulting?
Is that the one where the guy fell?
I don't know if he fell. He was going over the bar and he had it all clear, but he had too big of a package.
Oh,
and the package on the way down hit the bar fell, and he would have cleared it and I believe won a medal, but his unit was too big and you got to tuck it. You got to tuck your unit
I think
when you're jumping over a bar.
I don't think it was his unit.
You think it was a sack?
I've watched this like too much, and I'm like, nope, that's the participles.
Yeah. Good for you.
Thank you.
I did see a guy from Estonia go straight up. Didn't move, and then he kind of just ended up falling down and falling on the ground. I'm like, how awful does that got to feel on the Olympic stage? One bad moment.
Guy's in the Olympics. He's doing all right.
Let's carry this over. Let's go live to Paris, France. Our good friend Andrew Greif, who's covering the Olympics for GQ and NBC Sports, NBC News, is going to join us live. We'll get his thoughts on Noah Lyles. He wrote a profile piece on him. He'll join us next on 1080 The Fan.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by Vulcan Design and Construction. Check out their award-winning outdoor living designs or schedule your free design consultation at vulcandc.com. First on The Fan, lots of Olympic updates for the Americans. Scotty Scheffler taking home the gold in the men's individual golf tournament on Sunday morning with a 9-under overall. He beat out the Brit Tommy Fleetwood by 4 strokes. Sprinter Noah Lyles winning the first gold medal in the men's 100 meters for the United States since 2004. He beat the silver medal from Jamaica by just 0.05 of a second. And in Olympic tennis, Novak Djokovic beating Carlos Alcaraz in men's singles to bring home his first ever gold medal, for his native Syria. And in baseball, the Mariners failing to get the sweep against the Phillies as their bats go quiet with 11 strikeouts in a 6-0 loss. They still do lead the Astros by a game in the AL West. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Schulte at the 1080 The Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Tired of getting dinged by subscriptions? We won't send you a bill. Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan.
At Vanguard, you're more than just an investor, you're an owner. So whether you're planning for retirement or trying to save up for your next big adventure, Vanguard will work alongside you to set personalized investment goals. That's the value of ownership. All investing is subject to risk. Vanguard is owned by its funds, which are owned by Vanguard's fund shareholder clients. Vanguard Marketing Corporation, distributor.
This is it. Shop
All right, we're efforting Andrew Greif, going to join us, hopefully live from Paris, France.
Paris.
Follow Golliver on Instagram. He's giving some good content, man.
Yeah, he's over there covering the basketball.
He went straight from Vegas to Paris.
What a life.
So, I don't know if he's been home in over 2 months.
Yeah, probably not.
What a life.
It's our chance to get Golliver now that he's 9 hours ahead of us. He doesn't have to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Let's go, Golliver.
It looks like either Schultze's got him or he's leaving a voicemail.
Getting a one-finger hold it. Hold
I know. The one finger doesn't
it.
indicate one or the other. It's like, hey, wait.
Hold
Can't say anything right now.
Yeah, one other Olympic note was Tom Kim, who has to serve mandatory military service in South Korea as a golfer. He missed the medal stand by 1 shot yesterday.
Stunned you didn't put Scotty Scheffler in your favorite things from the weekend.
He won
crying
gold
on the podium.
And Rahm choked. He had a 3-shot lead with 7 holes to go, and he choked it away. Didn't even get a medal.
Enjoy that one, liver. Do we got him? Are we good? All right, let's go live to Paris, France. From Portland, Oregon to Paris, France. Our good friend Andrew Greif is covering the Olympics for GQ, NBC News. He's doing a great job over there. We got some good pieces up. Profile piece on Noah Lyles he wrote in July, and he covered the 100-meter race, which was crazy. He's on Twitter at Andrew Greif. Andrew, good to have you back on. Good morning or good afternoon, good evening. I forget the time zone difference here, but thank you for hopping on with us in Portland. Did you think that?
That's better.
Did you think that Jamaican runner won the race like we did in real time?
Well, Noah Lyles thought that Kashane Thompson won in real time. He walked up to Kashane Thompson after the final, after across the finish line, and said, "I think you got that one, big dog." And Thompson said, "I don't know," to him. And then they popped up. It took 28 seconds. Felt like a lifetime, I'm sure. But it was obviously Lyles' race. Just an amazing thing. When I told Lyles after in the interview area afterward, I was the one who informed him. I said, "You had the slowest reaction time, and you were 7th out of 8 with 50 meters to go. How did you beat them?" And he said, "I just believe in myself." And that's always the Noah Lyles I've known.
That's a remarkable stat, too, to be that far behind, that far into the race. What was the atmosphere like? Because the strangers, you mentioned it taking 30 seconds. It felt like a lifetime on TV, and the broadcasters called the wrong winner initially, and I thought that the Jamaican won as well. Like, what was the atmosphere like as everybody was waiting to find out?
Yeah, I mean, the 100-meter final, my first one, this is my first time covering the Olympics. And so, I've heard lots of things about what it's like, and especially the men's 100 final. It's a glamour event. And what people tell you who've done this before, it's true. It goes from kind of a rave-type atmosphere in this 77,000-seat stadium, completely sold out. They have a light show going as the guys get in the blocks. And then right before the start, it gets pin drop quiet. You've never heard a stadium that quiet in your life. Gun goes off, it goes crazy, and then it kind of got quiet again, right? When the photo finished, it pops up, there's a photo finish on the scoreboard. Everyone's just waiting around. Noah was surprised that his name popped up because he wasn't expecting it to take that long. So it just went from a matter of crazy quiet to obviously the burst of noise, a wall of noise, to this uncertainty zone, and then just kind of became a party once again. Noah was, as you can imagine, wired for the next 30 minutes that he spent with us, and it was quite the atmosphere.
Yeah, we're talking with Andrew Greif live in Paris here. He's covering the Olympics, as he mentioned, for the first time. Look, he is a product of track athletes, and you wrote a really good profile in GQ about him, and it's a very interesting dive into the mental health side of this, his family support, his kind of team support. He's a younger athlete. I mean, he was only in high school 8 years ago. Here he is. He's braggadocious. He's telling NBA players they're not technically world champions, and so there's like this weird pocket of people that are kind of seeing to see if he's going to fail on his face and not be a world champion. He wins the 100 meters. What's it been like covering him? And when you wrote this profile piece, what have you learned about Noah Lyles as an athlete?
Well, I mean, he's a guy who is a showman at heart. He's a little bit of a contradiction at heart. He's a guy who, like I said, loves a crowd. That's why one of the reasons why he felt so out of touch in Tokyo at those Olympics. There was an empty stadium. He was already nursing an injury. His mental health wasn't in a good place, and sort of the inability to connect with fans really threw him there. So to have the biggest crowd of his life, the loudest crowd of his life tonight, that obviously was a stage that he wanted to perform on. But he's a guy, so he loves that environment. But he's also someone who had told me in that profile that he really needs alone time to, sometimes. Like he he's high wattage. He wants to be an extrovert, but then he really gets introverted. And so finding that balance of the ways he can set himself up in the best position for success has been really a 3-year journey ever since he had all that depression and disappointment in the Tokyo Olympics. Safe to say he's figured it out now.
I'm curious to ask you, Andrew, you mentioned first time you've covered an Olympics. I probably will never have the chance to go. I know it's coming to the States in LA in 4 years, but probably not going to be there if I'm being honest. I'm just curious your thoughts following the Olympics your entire life, I'm assuming, and just what has surprised you? What has lived up to the hype? Have there been any disappointments? Just what's it been like over in Paris?
I mean, it being my first time, everything is new, and I've been really pleasantly surprised in a good way that the transportation to and from venues, which is something that people who cover this type of event always say is like the worst thing because, the buses that carry media to and from venues can always sound like they're getting delayed or backed up or off schedule. They're never on time. I've heard that for years from people who've done this for a long time. And I feel like this one has been wonderful. The organizers provided journalists with a free Metro pass. So I just take the subway every day around Paris, and it's really convenient. Trains run extremely, every 5 minutes in some cases. So that was my biggest concern, just getting around. It's been really wonderful. People in the city have been excellent to deal with. I mean, I speak I don't even know how to say I speak a little French. I speak that little French. But they have been so welcoming. I go every day to my neighborhood boulangerie, get a sandwich. So the city's been warm. The venues are incredible. It's just beautiful. The Eiffel Tower Beach Volleyball Stadium was the first place I went. And, I think it's a really high bar for LA to follow.
What is next for you? The 200 meters is coming up. Noah seemed from some quotes I saw, seems very confident in his ability to win that event. What is next for you in terms of what you're covering? It seems like you go to event to event. You mentioned the volleyball, covering track and field. Like, what is next for Andrew Greif in Paris?
I am essentially, if they allowed me to sleep in the Stade de France where track is, I would take them up on it because that's how often I'm here. So I'm just tethered to track and field. I'll be writing off the men's 200 and the women's 400-meter hurdles, which might be the signature event besides the men's 100 of this entire track program. Sydney McLaughlin, Femke Bol from the Netherlands. That's kind of the two next stories I'm doing for NBC News in a couple of days from now. But you'll see my name pop up in the Oregonian from time to time. I've got another one in the chamber for them in a couple days off the men's 1500. So really glad to be out here and sort of writing about track, which, I obviously have known best from my background. But it's a pretty unique experience, and I'm glad I hustled to get out here.
What time is it there right now?
It is 3:44. You are 9 hours behind on the West Coast.
Okay, 9 hours. That's what I thought it was. I want to get you out of here because we appreciate the time. I know you're super busy. Any opportunity, any window for you to get some hoops? I know you're also a hoops guy, so is there any opportunity for you to get whether men's or women's hoops action?
The hoops is relocated from the north of France and Lille, about 2-hour train ride away, to Paris now for the knockout round. So there is going to be a slower day here for track and field, and I do want to make my way over. I won't necessarily be covering it, but, if I can see Nicholas Batum, who I got to know a little bit on the Clippers beat, and Ty Lue, that'd be great. So I was talking to him about this Olympics with Batum for, more than a year when he was on the Clippers and how excited we were to be here. So it would be nice to connect with him. And I hope I can make my way over there.
Well, I'm happy for you, man. Seriously, you're doing great work over there for NBC News. You mentioned the Oregonian and OregonLive.com. Glad to see you over there having like a lifetime memory covering the Olympics, track and field. Give him a follow on Twitter at Andrew Greif. He's joining us live in Paris. Andrew, pick up some French, continued success, and enjoy the rest of the track and field events.
My friends, merci.
There we go. Andrew Greif, live in Paris, covering track and field for multiple outlets. And I was happy. We've had him on several times, both to cover Oregon football.
Yeah, back in the day.
Little basketball even before that. And then most recently the Clippers. And then the LA Times just made all these cuts. And I'm like, what a stupid decision that is. He's the best guy on that beat. But Happy for him. He's over there in Paris covering track and field.
I will say, too, the addition of the Paris ambulance or sirens in the background, that's maybe as authentic of interview as we have ever done.
It was spot on. And it threw me off in the beginning because I've heard his voice a million times. I thought it was him.
It sounded like a female was jumping on the phone or something. I'm like, what is this?
Oh, he was in a crowd. There
were people talking around him and stuff. Yeah. It threw me off a little bit. But the sirens in the background, that was great. That was authentic, straight from France.
I want to get to some NFL stuff. We'll do it next on The Fan.
Oregon Ducks football is on The Fan.
Shall we? About a lot of Olympic talk here on The Fan. The NFL top 100 players list came out.
Yes, let's yell. I'm ready to be angry.
Are you?
I am. I'm outraged.
Maybe you'll be kind of the face of a new network without outrage.
Skip Bayless is gone. Are they looking to pay somebody to scream stupid crap and nobody to watch? Because I could definitely do that job.
The top 100 list. So this is the players ranking, the top 100. Jalen Johnson of the Bears, who was an all-pro cornerback last season, did not make the top 100.
No, not one of the 100 best players in the NFL.
But don't worry, the new media, they'll correct what the old media got wrong. So many years.
I love this one because it's the play. They can't stand behind any blaming somebody else or dumb media or anything. This is their voice and who they voted the top 100 players in the league.
So the thing that stands out the most, like Tyreek Hill being voted the number one player in the NFL, he's a fantastic talent. He's not the number one player in the NFL. It's ridiculous.
No, he is not.
I don't want to get into that. Whatever.
Okay. I would like to yell about that because it is pretty stupid.
Well, best quarterback. It's the position we care the most about.
It is.
These are the top 12.
Top 12 NFL quarterbacks according to NFL players.
Number 1, Lamar, reigning MVP.
He is the
He
reigning,
is.
He is the reigning MVP.
Number
He is.
2, Patty Mahomes. Might have heard of him.
I mean, it's just ridiculous.
3-time Super Bowl champion.
I don't understand it.
Number 3, Josh Allen.
Yeah.
4 is Jalen Hurts. 5 is old Dakota Prescott. 6 is C.J. Stroud. 7 is Brock Purdy. 8 is Jordan Love. 9 is Tua Tagovailoa. 10 is Joe Burrow. 11, Matt Stafford. And 12, Jared Goff.
There's a certain name missing there that's not a top 12 quarterback in the NFL. And I don't know what's more. Actually, no, I do know what's more laughable. Patrick Mahomes not being named the best quarterback in the NFL is like you've lost all credibility. None of it. None of the other rankings matter. Nothing else is valid. You're trying to look me in the eyes, an NFL player, and tell me you don't think Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league. The guy that went into Baltimore and got a win in the AFC title game over Lamar Jackson.
Quite literally beat Lamar in
Lamar
Lamar's
had like
house.
3 turnovers in that game. I love Lamar Jackson.
Wins are not a quarterback stat.
They not always are. No, and I defend that. But I love Lamar. He deserved to get paid. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He is not better than Patrick Mahomes.
No, he
in
is
any way, shape, or form.
Well, their seasons were much different. Lamar did have a better year than him.
Sure.
And I think they're reacting to what they see because they're not, I don't think all these guys dive into the advanced analytics. They're not caring about like, some of them I think don't value winning for quarterback stuff. So that also goes into this.
Well, then why is Brock Purdy in the top 10? And why is Jalen Hurts in the top 10?
Well, is that not like kind of earning respect amongst your peers?
I'm a big Brock Purdy guy, but I don't think he's the what was he, the seventh? I don't think he's the seventh best quarterback in the NFL.
Jordan Love made the list as 12th, right?
Jordan Love was 8th.
He was 8th.
He was ahead of Stafford and Goff.
He's ahead of
Burrow.
Joe Burrow.
Burrow was 10th.
And Justin Herbert, whose name did not show up in the top 12.
C.J. Stroud didn't make the list. I know it was his rookie season, but Jordan Love.
C.J. Stroud made the list.
C.J. Stroud was on there.
He was higher than Jordan Love and Brock Purdy.
Yes.
Oh, I missed the
He had 23 touchdowns, and he made the list, top 6.
Automatically right there. Won one playoff game.
Let me ask you this.
What do you got?
I was thinking about this list. I knew it was right up our alley, like Herbert not being on it. He is a little bit of a polarizing quarterback. Like NFL, media, fans, and players, he seems to be somewhat polarizing, Justin Herbert.
Yes.
Who would you remove from this list and put Herbert ahead of? Because I think from a player perspective, you and I are looking at this from a little bit of a local lens, right? And then we're also looking at it from the what he looks like and what his physical stature kind of is at that position. But from an accomplishment standpoint, he's got more numbers, longer longevity than Purdy in terms of how many years he's played. But Purdy's had more success early on in the career. Who would you take over? Who would you take off the list to put Herbert on the list?
I believe Herbert is a better quarterback than Brock Purdy.
Okay.
I believe Herbert is a better quarterback than Tua. I believe that Herbert.
Okay.
Yes,
All right.
yeah. I believe that Herbert is a better quarterback than Dak Prescott.
Dakota.
I believe that
That's a
Herbert
top 5
is
quarterback you're talking about right there.
I believe that Herbert's a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts. I believe that Herbert
Hurts has been to a Super Bowl.
is a better quarterback than C.J. Stroud.
Really?
Yes, really.
What
do we go? So if we're just
hold
going
on, you
off
gave
of
me
rookie,
Hurts, Prescott, Stroud, and Purdy. So you give me 5 because there's 5.
There's
Tua.
5. Yeah. Who else am I missing? I can keep going if you want me to keep going.
Is he better than Goff?
No, I'll give Goff deserves. I mean, Goff.
Stafford?
No, not Stafford. I wouldn't take him.
I
over
know you're
those
not
guys.
going Joe.
I'm not
Shiesty.
going him over Joe B. No,
Okay.
Allen. No, Lamar. No, Mahomes. No, none of those guys. I would.
Jordan Love.
Jordan Love. Probably. I would probably still take Herbert over him.
Wow. Okay, so 6 of the top 12 you would take Herbert over.
Well, the C.J. Stroud one is the funniest to me. C.J. Stroud was unbelievable last year. 23 touchdowns and 5 picks. I want to say his numbers were the
5th rookie quarterback to ever throw for 4,000 plus yards in a season.
Who broke almost every rookie quarterback record in the NFL?
Herbert.
Okay. So does that not count anymore? That doesn't matter because he got hurt last year.
He did get hurt last year, and then the year before that, his memory of his final memory was
a playoff game.
His team blew a huge playoff game.
And the quarterback that beat him in that game, also not a top 12 quarterback in the NFL, so that didn't matter for him.
Yeah.
I just find it funny how some quarterbacks get the benefit because they win in the playoffs, but the numbers aren't great in the regular season. Some quarterbacks get the benefit just because they're liked and they're talked about more than others are.
Well, Dak certainly isn't one of these. His numbers
Dak Prescott being that high is laughable,
Yeah.
and Joe Burrow Burrow being that low is laughable. I know that he was hurt, and that's, I guess, a part of it. And I think you're right that we're just going off of what is the most recent thing that I've seen, and that's where my ranking will go. But if you take, like, the rushing yard thing is what separates Lamar in terms of winning an MVP over a guy like Patrick Mahomes. Their passing numbers were Mahomes threw a few more picks last year. He threw 14, and Lamar threw 7. But their touchdowns were identical. They both threw 24 touchdown passes, and Mahomes had an extra 500-600 passing yards on the year.
His targets were substantially worse.
And his
than
targets were
Baltimore's.
substantially worse. And so none of this makes any sense. But yeah, if you're asking me where Herbert, I think a fair ranking for him would be in the 7 or 8 range because he was hurt last year.
I think the two that surprised me the most. Like, Purdy being 7 was a lot higher than I thought I didn't even know if he'd make this list. So he's clearly earned a lot of respect with whoever the players are that voted on this. Hurts at 4 and Prescott at 5. Probably.
I mean, that's just dumb. It's just dumb. Jalen Hurts is not a top 4
I didn't think
quarterback
Hurts
in
had
the
that
NFL.
good a year last year, and Dak continues to just fall on his. I mean, it's not, again, wins are not a quarterback stat.
He
threw a pick 6 and had 2 picks in that Green Bay game.
This is such a what have you done for me lately type of league. Obviously, it's the world of sports, but when you throw Justin Herbert under the bus because of what an injury, but Jalen Hurts last year.
How'd the playoffs go for the Eagles last year?
Exactly. Forgotten
he
about.
was also injured.
However, then I also see, outside of Stroud and Love, I would say that every quarterback on this list has accomplished more overall than Justin Herbert.
I think there's, what I would say is, and we'll go to the second hour, I think there's a real middle ground here. If we're just being honest, a middle ground of, I do think locally we kind of put him a little higher than most, pundit or player. But I also think when this kind of list comes out, it's like, really?
I mean, the way that
12 quarterbacks over him?
The way that I view it is, and maybe this is a different way than others do, like, if you're playing a fantasy world in your head, fantasy drafting quarterbacks.
I'm doing a dynasty league this year.
Look at you, dynasty league quarterback draft. Okay,
done it?
here's a great question for you then. Dynasty drafting quarterbacks.
Well,
you have Tua or Justin Herbert available. Who are you taking?
I'm probably taking Herbert.
Okay,
because I worry about Tua suffering any other concussion.
Sure. Dak Prescott or Justin Herbert available.
Herbert.
Who are you taking?
Herbert.
Okay, so there's already 2. Now he's a top 10 or top. I don't know where he showed
I
up.
wasn't arguing that he wasn't.
No, I'm just saying this. It's just funny when we do this. He didn't win in the playoffs last year. It's like, well, neither did Jalen Hurts. Neither did Dak. Neither did Dak. I mean, Dak was horrible 2 years ago and lost the playoff game single-handedly against the Niners.
Stafford lost. Tua lost.
I mean, Stafford's fine. He won a Super Bowl 2 years ago. You want to give him that?
Saying,
That's fine.
Lost in the playoffs.
He did. He lost in his first playoff game. So you can go down the list of a lot of these guys, and you would take Herbert over half of them.
I did put a poll question up out of curiosity. I just took 3 players out of 4 because I can't do more than 4. And the poll question is at Dirt and Sprague, and it's as follows. Which quarterback will have the best 2024 season? However you want to define that. Brock Purdy, Justin Herbert, Jalen Hurts, or C.J. Stroud. Right now, shocking. Herbert's winning at 39.1%.
I thought there was a pretty obvious answer there.
Stroud is second at 27.1%. Purdy is third, and Hurts is a dismal 9.3%. So not a lot of faith in Hurts.
There's one quarterback who had numbers better than all of the others last year, and it wasn't even particularly close, and he's not in first place.
Yeah.
Brock Purdy's numbers were better than literally all the other guys.
Might not have Ayuk, though.
And he was in the Super Bowl.
I know.
So if you're going team success and stats, shouldn't that answer be pretty obvious?
We have a loaded second hour. Is this guy the new coming of a player we were very familiar with? Loaded second hour. We'll go to the Daily Ticker at Iowa State for the Dirty Poll. Dirt and Sprague, hour 2 on the Fan.
Hey, it's Sue.
some soups and eat bread and desserts and just get all fat and sassy.
The Fan.
All right, welcome back in. Hour number 2, numero dos here on The Fan. Dirt and Sprague, good morning. 7:03 a.m. Basketball coverage on The Fan is presented by T-Mobile. Switch to T-Mobile, and you can get tons of benefits and still save on every plan versus AT&T and Verizon. Use your savings calculator to find out how at T-Mobile.com/switch. If you miss any of the hours of any show, you can always catch them at the podcast section of 1080 The Fan. We have a loaded second hour here. The Vancouver Ford text line's 503-864-6326. They treat you right before, during, and after the sale. Visit them for more info at VancouverFord.com. We're on The Fan, the Odyssey app, 99.5 HD2, and YouTube. Good morning, YouTube.
Hello.
I put up a tweet now with Warren Sharp, who quoted the 12 best. He didn't go through the full ranking here because they're all spaced out. The 12 best quarterbacks according to the NFL's top 100. No Justin Herbert in the top 12 QBs, according to the players who voted on the top 100. And at The Dirt Johnson says that is a mistake. He said he would take Herbert over 5 players on the list. Those 5 players are Tua, Dak, Purdy, Stroud, and Jalen Hurts. Do we agree at Dirt and Sprague?
This is going to be a political party vote here. If you wear green and yellow, you're going to vote yes. If you don't wear green and yellow, you're going to vote no. Because I get why people get tired of the Herbert stuff. It's a local guy that turned into an NFL quarterback. And
there's a lot of pressure on him to start. You got to start ramping up these dubs, man.
There's a ton of pressure. I just chuckle at like what is important in terms of these votes. I don't. Is it winning playoff games? Is that what matters? And that's why he's not in there. Okay, then why is Tua in there? How many playoff wins does Tua have?
0.
Okay, 0. So this notion that he's a better quarterback because he had more passing yards than him last year. How many 5,000-yard passing seasons has Tua had in his career?
I don't know.
The answer to that is 0.
Okay.
What
high
about
4,000 last year?
He was high 4,000. Do you want to go career passing yards? It's 17,000 to 12,000. You want to go career touchdowns in 4 years, by the way, same career.
Yep.
It's 114 to 81. Interceptions are about the same, and Tua's missed far more time with concussion issues in his career than Herbert has. Herbert missing games last year was the first time, I believe, in his entire career that he has ever missed a game. He's played through every other injury he's ever had, so it's not like injuries are a big concern. He's 5,000 yards greater through 4 seasons. That's almost a full season, a 5,000-yard season better than Tua. Like, what am I missing here? Tua last year had 29 touchdowns and 14 picks.
I mean, Tua was the passing yards leader in the NFL last year. A lot of this, again, as we cited, was reactionary stuff.
That's great.
Lamar was the MVP. I don't think he's better than Mahomes, but the players watched him. He was absolutely awesome last year.
This is why they shouldn't
be allowed. 13-4.
That's why they shouldn't be allowed to vote for All-Star games.
Well,
take this power away from them. Don't let them pick the reserves. I'd have zero faith in them.
Are you going anti-new media?
I'm going anti-new media.
Old media only, huh?
I know more. I didn't play.
The white guy that's never played in the NFL should have the say, not the player.
I just find it funny how we have, like, some labels stick to guys and other labels don't. And C.J. Stroud winning a playoff game was massive. He also played Joe Flacco in a playoff game at home.
Yeah,
they went to Baltimore and they got obliterated.
But they won their division.
They did at 9-8.
Yeah,
they did at 9-8.
He was a rookie quarterback.
I'm
Did you have him winning the division?
I'm not knocking C.J. Stroud.
Did you have him winning a playoff game last year?
Not in a million. I actually gambled heavily on the Browns in the wild card round because I'm an idiot.
Look, if you end up being right on Herbert Stroud, I'll give you all your flowers for that. I think it's a bit of a hot take, but I like that you did it. Dak, I understand. Tua, totally get it. Purdy is still a tough one for me. Like, I'm acknowledging that he's good. I also think, much kind of like Tua in a system, he's benefiting greatly from what's around him. But we'll see how this goes as he continues to age and get experience.
If Herbert was the quarterback of the Niners the last 3 years, do they have a Super Bowl?
I don't know.
I would vote yes on that.
They do. They beat the Kansas City Chiefs.
I think that they would, yeah. And I love Brock Purdy. I think Brock Purdy is an awesome story, and he's only getting better in the league. He's been in the NFL for 2 years.
Well, they don't win it last year because Herbert gets hurt. You can't play that game.
Yeah, the Niners' offensive line, he's not getting hurt. Why don't you stick that in your pipe and smoke it, all right, buddy?
Actually, yeah, Herbert won't have weapons this year.
Yeah,
either,
how many of his starting wide receivers were playing in the second half of the year last year? Was Brandon Ayuk in the lineup? Was Deebo Samuel in the lineup? Was George Kittle healthy? Was Christian McCaffrey healthy?
Side note, kayaking skiing is a badass Olympic sport that I've never seen until right now.
I don't know that was even in the Olympics.
Dude, they drop like 7 feet off of the starting line into the water. That's incredible.
You got to go find some river somewhere, go
Look,
kayak down.
I think, unfortunately, it's not fence sitting because I think Herbert deserves to be on this list. I would also take some of these quarterbacks off the list to put Herbert on the list.
Yeah.
I also think there's a bit of you're wearing green and yellow right now. You're loud and you're proud.
I absolutely am.
But he's got a lot to prove. But I do think his numbers and his play are more deserving than being like left off the top.
Sure.
Bro. That's ridiculous.
Totally fair. He definitely has a lot to prove. Does Tua have a lot to prove? Or are we just settled? Does he not need to win a playoff game? Or we just settled on that?
Tua's been paid, and when these guys get paid, what I was going to say is when these guys get paid, it continues to add to the lot to prove thing.
Okay.
So yes, I think.
So if he doesn't win a playoff game, we're going to have this same conversation about
it's going to
him
get noisy
and the pressure that mounts on him for not winning a playoff game. What if C.J. Stroud misses the playoffs? Are we going to do that to him next offseason?
Oh yeah,
pressure. Okay,
don't we do this to all the guys?
I think we do, but I also
what guys don't get this.
I think there's a handful of quarterbacks in the NFL that just kind of skate from time to time, and I feel like we do this in the NBA, where some guys get held to a certain standard and others don't.
You've derailed my duck segment for this.
Oh, well, don't worry. We'll get to the next Brock Bowers. You calm down over there, buddy. I'm fired up about this one first. But I think we do this in the NBA, where some guys are held to a certain standard and other guys are not. And I think this is true of, like, nationally speaking, I think most guys are, but I think locally, Herbert is such a hot topic issue, because if you're not a Duck fan, you're probably like, stop talking about him. If you are a Duck fan, you defend him till the death because he's a local guy that's finally a good NFL quarterback, and we've been waiting our entire lives to see a good NFL quarterback from Oregon.
No doubt.
And so you prop him up or you knock him down, and we hold him to a certain standard locally more so than we do any other quarterback whenever his name is brought up, because it gets texted in constantly. Herbert's never won a playoff game. It has never once been texted into this show that Tua's never won a playoff game.
Well, but I don't think. Well, he's only played one, by the way. He's not 0-2.
Shouldn't that
he
be a
missed
part
the
of it?
first one. Skylar
He got
Thompson
hurt.
played.
He was hurt because injuries are a part of this, are they not?
Well, but I
He's
think
one
that's
hit away from never being in the NFL again.
100%. He contemplated retirement
He
after
did.
that year where he seizured
16
on the
months
field.
ago.
But I think when you get paid and then you look as bad as they looked in the playoffs in Kansas City, like, go look at the road to the Super Bowl for a Miami Dolphin team if they're not hosting Kansas City, a Cincinnati, a Buffalo. Like, you start naming off the cities, cold weather, and like, we saw him play.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just him. Again, wins are not a quarterback stat, but God, was that offense atrocious in Kansas City. And look, we shouldn't have been playing football in that weather. Quite literally, humans lost fingers in that weather.
Toughen up.
But
what happened to America?
They can't function in cold weather, seems to kind of be the deal with Miami. So there's definitely, I think this year, going to be a lot of pressure on Tua now that he got that contract.
Yeah.
They just reworked and extended Tyreek Hill. They just signed Jalen Waddle. He's got weapons for at least 2 more years. There's no excuse there. The run game seems to always be pretty consistent. If the defense takes a step, there's definitely pressure on Tua. Now, will they win anything? I mean, nobody's winning anything but Mahomes right now.
He's the only one. And whose division is he in?
Who?
Yeah. Whose division is Mahomes in?
Oh, he's in Herbert's.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just throwing that out there.
But he also has the Raiders and the Broncos, who the Broncos haven't done anything since they won the Super Bowl.
That is very true.
And the Raiders I don't know what the Raiders are doing.
One of the worst in the NFL.
Gardner Minshew, yeah.
Well, they have Wilkins.
Is he in Vegas now? Yeah. Minshew Magic is?
Minshew Magic.
Minshew and Aiden O'Connell. I
Yeah.
don't know who the hell's going to start, but there you go.
They've got Crosby and Wilkins on the D-line. Like, it's a formidable defense.
Yeah,
but
he was damn near in the playoffs last year, Minshew Magic was.
Stop. The Minshew Magic thing, like, his numbers were
Well,
crap.
this is my other
He was
point.
terrible.
This is my other point. And I think all of these things can apply. And you can label this green and yellow glasses all you want.
Sure.
Playoff wins matter greatly for NFL quarterbacks.
They add
Whether
to a
it's-
legacy for sure.
Whether
yes.
it is fair or not, that is what it takes, right? C.J. Stroud is put into conversations that he is put into right now because he won a playoff game last year, and his rookie numbers were very good. C.J. Stroud was awesome last year, and nobody saw that coming. They made the playoffs because they were in one of the worst divisions in football. If you put them in the AFC West, they're not a playoff team last year at 9-8. I know you could do. I know.
But
I'm just saying these things apply.
Yeah.
So you then win the division, you get a home playoff game, and you play Joe Flacco, and that props up his status as an NFL quarterback.
But we didn't. Yeah, but we thought they were the worst team in that division
that's
going
not,
into the year.
I know, and that's why it was incredible.
And Jacksonville choked away a lead.
That's why it's incredible what he accomplished. And I'm not truly trying to say this as a way to knock him down. I'm just saying that there are different circumstances that quarterbacks have to go through. And if Herbert was able to win a division at 9-8 and host a playoff game, he might have a playoff win right now, and maybe the conversation is different about him. He happens to be in a division with the best team in the NFL and the best quarterback in the NFL. And it's going to be a really tough uphill putt to win the AFC West and host a playoff game.
It's not even the division, though, I think, with him, Dirt. He quite literally had a 20-plus lead in the playoffs.
They blew it.
They lost.
They blew it.
Their offense completely disappeared, and their defense gave away a huge lead.
They blew a 27-point lead in a playoff game.
And I hate to tell you this, but like with the injury stuff last year, and I know it happened kind of late in the year, paired with that, that's kind of how I think players are just viewing this stuff in a vacuum.
It's a good thing he's not in a walking boot right now, and there's nothing to be concerned about.
Oh, yeah, the
plantar fascia.
And his wide receiver room is loaded. Lad McConkey.
It's plantar fascia.
Yeah.
Get it right. Drop your itis.
You idiot.
Drop your itis. Get with the program.
Gotta get rid of
I didn't know that was
itis.
such a hot button thing on Friday. We talked about that. That pissed a lot of people off. Not knowing fascia or fasciitis. Yeah. Russ came in here yelling at me. How do you not know that?
I go,
now
Rust.
I know.
I go, Rust, are you a doctor? He goes, well, no, but, and I go, when did you learn this? Oh, I had to learn it last, 3 weeks ago. And I went, so you're pissed off about something you learned 3 weeks ago?
Something that you just learned that you are now mad at the rest of the world about for not knowing, and you're acting like you've known it for your entire
Sound
life.
like a Joe Rogan vaccine expert. I listened to the RFK pod, man.
I saw one podcast.
Like, oh, okay, thank you.
I got the answers to the test now.
Can I try to make this point really quickly?
What do you got, Schultz? Jump on in.
Justin Herbert, not a great team that he's got looking forward on the Chargers, at least weapons-wise, running backs, wide receivers. I don't know. I look at the situation in Miami.
He just got Harbaugh.
I'm not.
That's a great move.
He got a coach that a lot of teams wanted.
No. Here,
finally has a head coach.
Yes.
He's never had. Can we agree he's never had that in 5 years?
Yeah,
Not
got
a
Mike
great
Daniels
one,
down in Miami too. Freaking genius, right? And he's got really great wide receivers in Waddle and Hill, and they picked Raheem Mostert off the scrap heap. And what did he do? Lead the league in touchdowns last year. Tua, in my opinion, I made this point while you guys were gone last week, I think that the offense elevated him to get the numbers that he had. And if I had to say, put Justin Herbert on Miami's offense or Tua on Miami's offense, I think Justin Herbert would throw for 1,500 more yards than he already did. He just hasn't had what Miami's had. And kind of, I sound like a Ducks homer, but it throws a wrench in the conversation to me.
I think you guys need to stop saying, I sound like you are, and
All
that's
right,
okay. That's okay to like Herbert and be rooting for him more than other people. What I would say, and be cautious here, is you can play this game all day. How many quarterbacks, if they would have got Andy Reid rookie year, would have won, and okay, but you're still in a way knocking the player. He had Brian Flores year one. How did that go? We thought that dude was a bust, and then he got the right guy. They got serious as a franchise, and they surrounded him with weapons. We don't need to take anything away from Tua. By the way, how does Miami look when Tua doesn't play? They don't look like that.
Damn near beat the Bills in a playoff game.
No, they didn't. So I just
Skylar Thompson.
I think it's one thing to say Herbert would be this in this system with this team. Well, he's not, and he's not gonna be. So what's the point of that? It's just it's a way to prop up Herbert and knock a player. Would I take Herbert over Tua? Probably. Because, again, I'm worried that Tua suffers one more concussion. His life is in jeopardy. This guy's been concussed to a seizure on the field.
Yes.
But I don't need to also be like, well, if he had this. He doesn't. And it sucks. This is what the NFL is, man. You have to kind of sometimes rise above it. And I think he can with Harbaugh. I think he's had a good career considering what's been around him and given to him. But we have to kind of just evaluate this year to year. And circumstances be damned. It's unfortunate. How many careers have been broken by bad circumstance? I don't hear you making arguments for those guys. If they were in the right system, happens all the time. That's the NFL.
If only Joey didn't get drafted by the Lions, man. You never know
what
could have happened.
He's talked about it with Isaac and Sue. Confidence is a huge thing there, and when you lose it or you question it, it's hard to ever get back to that place. Is Brock Purdy this if he's not drafted last by the Niners?
No.
Probably not.
No. I was only trying to say that Justin Herbert can make more lemonade out of lemons than Tua, in my opinion. But I am being a homer.
I think we should get Emmanuel Acho on the phone.
Oh, I think it'd be the worst possible thing. It's already hard enough.
What do you think, Emmanuel? Come on, jump on in here.
Let's embrace debate on a Monday. Duck quarterback debates.
Start yelling.
Let's get to, we'll push Michigan. Turns out, breaking news, they are massive cheaters. Shocking.
What?
Should Ken Barkley have to send me back a care package?
How long until the Huskies claim a national championship out of this? Now you got a whole one. Congratulations,
there you
Huskies.
Go. We did it.
You got one you didn't win and one you didn't actually play in. So congratulations, you get one.
Bastards in
Total
Ann
of
Arbor.
one.
We'll talk with Bill Seals as we kick off Dirty Poll Daily Tickers here. Iowa State's number 25. Coming up next, does Oregon have this in their arsenal? Next on The Fan.
The Fan is .1080 The Fan.
Say what you want. Hold whatever opinion you have. Feels good to debate that stuff. I do love that.
That's good, man.
Good
to get the blood pumping on August 5th. Football's almost here.
I might hold something for tomorrow's show.
Bring your ass.
On a quarterback that was very disrespected on that list and how he's not being talked about a whole lot. So I may hold that for tomorrow. We'll go to Iowa State. They're number 25 on your dirty poll.
Yes, they are.
They're the dirtiest team out there.
The Cyclones are ready to make a run in the Big 12, and I think they have one of the most underrated players in the entire country.
Really?
There's a hot take for you right there.
Bill Seals covers Iowa State football, so he'll join us coming up for the Daily Ticker. Who is number 24?
It's a great name, by the way.
Bill Seals.
Bill Seals. I love it.
Fantastic.
Number 24. How do you not know who number 24 is? It's SMU.
Oh, SMU's interesting, too.
We're going to SMU.
ACC.
Well, they're now in a Power 5 conference. They have an easy schedule. They have a quarterback that's returning after winning 10 games.
Well, I think they won 11.
11 with a bowl game, potentially. So SMU's feeling good.
Oregon's feeling good right now. Fall camp's happening. I loved that Dan Lanning basically said absolutely nothing after practice the other day.
Oh, it's great to have those back, isn't it?
Just to give you nothing of what happened in practice.
We're going to go watch the film.
However, Will Stein is not Dan Lanning. And Will Stein was talking. He talked a lot. He didn't just mention one player. He talked about how good Jordan James has been, how fast he is at 200 pounds, how excited they are to have him now as the premier back. He mentioned a player here, Kenyon Sadiq, who is coming in with high expectation. Here was Will Stein's thoughts on how good he's been in camp and who he kind of reminds him of.
We want to get him the ball as many ways as we can. And early in camp, we're really just trying to reinstall our base offense. But as we get closer to game weeks, he's a guy that we want a personnel-specific plays for. There's been different guys across the country over the years that have been unique like him. I think about the kid that just got drafted from Georgia that is with the Raiders now. Like, I'm not saying Kenyon is Brock Bowers, okay? He's not there yet, but he has all the skills to be a player similar to him in terms of true tight end play, out of the backfield, flexed. So excited about where he's going. And I mean, he's had a great summer, great spring.
The worst thing with comps when you say a name is instantly it's like, oh. And what I think Will Stein would try to say there is like, it just stylistically sometimes looks like it. They'll also cite it as soon as he said the name. He's not there yet. He's not at that level. But you say the name Brock Bowers, and you're talking about one of the best tight ends in college football easily in the last decade, just drafted by the Raiders.
Yeah.
Kenyon Sadiq, expecting monster things from him in the offense, which is interesting because we talked about their offensive line. They're filling in some spots, right? Dylan Gabriel, Jordan James is the premier back now, Stewart, Tez, Ferguson we interviewed at Big Ten Media Day.
Yeah.
Kenyon Sadiq, not a name mentioned very much, and now Will Stein's like, we might have Brock Bowers, and everybody's alert. Horns are going off.
Siren, like we were interviewing Greif, we're getting those French sirens in our background. Like, wait a minute, did you just say that? You just compared him to Brock Bowers? I found this fascinating because to come out with praise for a young player is not rare for a head coach. He's playing great, he's progressing, he's looking good in camp. Like, you're going to hear that about so many guys at so many different camps, and the praise is going to be all over the place. To put a name with it, and not just any name, not like, hey, I think he could be a Terrence Ferguson, or hey, he could be a Patrick Herbert for this offense. He says, no, he could be one of the best tight ends we've seen in college football over the last 10, 15 years, because outside of Kyle Pitts and him, how many other tight ends have been top 10 draft picks, right? It just doesn't happen very often. And he was just a top 10 pick to the Raiders, as you point out. So to put that level of expectation and hype on this kid is bananas. But I think you're only doing it if you have that much faith in him. Like, you're only coming out with this strong of a statement and putting this much expectation on his shoulders if you feel like he can live up to it. He wasn't the only one. Terrence Ferguson, the number one tight end in that room, who was likely going to break all of their tight end receiving records this year in program history, was doing an interview. I think Zach Neal had this of Ducks Wire, and he asked Terrence Ferguson about Kenyon Sadiq, and he said he can be the best tight end in Oregon history. So there's just incredible buzz.
It's quite a compliment, man.
It's building around this kid. And I remember hearing things last fall when he showed up on campus. It was like, man, this kid's kind of special. He is from Idaho.
Idaho Falls.
And he was an elite high school athlete. But I think when you get a kid from Idaho, there's the question of, are you truly elite or are you like Idaho elite? Like are you dominating kids because you're playing against guys like me because you're from Idaho, you're not from Dallas or LA or Miami, and will it translate? But something that Lanning has always preached in recruiting is that if you're good enough, you're old enough. And Kenyon Sadiq was an example of that, where he didn't catch 30 balls last year.
5 catches, 1 tutty.
Not a ton, but he played in every game. He did not redshirt. He was a special teams guy on a bunch of different units. They used him in a bunch of different ways, and I think that's what's exciting about all of these weapons in the offensive room that they have, is that you have Terrence Ferguson who's back, you have Patrick Herbert who's back at tight end, but then you have Kenyon Sadiq, who are you going to use him with one of those two, or are you going to use 3 tight end sets? Are you going to flex him out wide? Are you going to use him in the slot? They gave him a couple of fly sweeps last year and tried to give him different looks.
Did all of that,
and that's
Georgia.
where I think Kenyon Sadiq can maybe be this Swiss Army knife, where Ferguson and Herbert are true tight ends.
Right.
Sadiq is more of kind of an athlete that you can move all over
Jimmy
the field.
Graham kind of Brock Bowers type of
man.
deal, right?
It's exciting, and it's another example of all the young guys that are on this roster that Lanning has recruited that are just now starting to kind of poke their head out and like, oh, that's right. I remember when they signed that guy. Now he's ready to have an impact.
We'll go to the Daily Ticker here. I think Lanning has a great relationship with people on his staff. Is there any element that when Stein got back and this started circulating,
dude, really?
Dan brings him in and goes, Will,
come on, man.
You had to say that name?
Of all the names.
You couldn't just comp him to Terrence? Terrence is a great player. Why are we going Brock Bowers?
We go George Wrightster, come with a different
And do you think
name.
Will was like, yeah, Dan, sorry, man. I just, we had our notes. We talked about this. I know, off the record.
Good comparison for Duck fans back in the day. Dante Rosario, I think he started off as like a halfback, then moved to fullback, then moved to tight end as the Ducks were shifting to the spread. And he played every position so well, caught passes, blocked. I mean, he was a Swiss Army knife for the Ducks. Obviously, Sadiq on a whole nother level, but Ducks have had a few players like this before.
Our first noteworthy thing from fall camp so far.
We got a quote, man.
We got a quote from an OC that this guy might be Brock Bowers.
Something we can actually take from a press conference and talk about. Not I got to watch the film and everybody worked hard and conditioning needs to get better.
Michigan is a bunch of cheaters. Breaking news. I don't know if you guys knew that. We'll talk about that coming up. But up next is the Daily Ticker. We go to Iowa State, Ames, Iowa, where the Cyclones are number 25 in Dirt's Dirty Poll Top 25 season preview countdown. Bill Seals joins us coming up next with the Daily Ticker.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, the Seattle Mariners failing to get the sweep against the Phillies. Their bats going quiet with 11 strikeouts as they take the 6-0 loss. The silver lining, though, Seattle still in first place by a game in the AL West as the Rays beat the Astros yesterday. Seattle hosting the Detroit Tigers for a 3-game set starting tomorrow. One NFL note, the Tennessee Titans agreeing to a 1-year, $5 million deal with former Seahawks safety Quandre Diggs. The 10-year vet was good for 95 tackles and a pick last season. In less than a month before their season opener against Idaho, the Oregon Ducks landing a huge commitment over the weekend from the nation's #1 safety, Trey McNutt. He chose the Ducks over Florida, Texas A&M, Ohio State, and USC. McNutt marking Oregon's second 5-star recruit out of the 2025 class. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Schulte at the 1080 The Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
It's The Fan on FM. Go to 99.5. Dirt and Sprague visit with the insiders that are covering the stories you've heard about and some you haven't.
How'd you do that? Actually, I'm not even mad. It's amazing.
The Daily Ticker with Dirt and Sprague is poured by Pelican Brewing. Be ready for your next afternoon vacation with Beak Breaker Tropical. Pelican Brewing, born at the beach.
All right, Daily Ticker time here on a Monday, brought to you by Pelican Brewing. Visit pelicanbrewing.com for more details on locations, events, award-winning beers, independently brewed since 1996. Pelican Brewing, born at the beach. For those of you new to the program, we do something every August that we call the Dirty Poll, and we preview, according to me, the top 25 teams in college football this year. And it officially begins today. Even though we don't have 25 shows, we're going to have to jam 2 teams into one show. We'll figure it out as we get a little bit closer.
Everybody loves a good jams for
you got to jam a couple of things in there. We're going to do it as in the next couple of weeks. But we start today, number 25, and we go to Ames, Iowa, to preview the Iowa State Cyclones. Joining us now, Bill Seals, the publisher of Cyclones Report on the Rivals Network, at William Seals on Twitter. Bill, good morning to you, man. As we preview Iowa State, I'm curious with the opener for you, 25. Fair, too low, too high? How do you feel about my ranking of the Cyclones?
Hey, I'm just happy to see the Cyclones getting some love out there in the northwestern part of the country. Usually, the Cyclones don't get too much love out there, but it's nice to see that. And then you having a good reason to bring me on the show this morning.
Yeah, well, hey, we respect college football. We like to watch all the power conferences here. Dirt does a really good job of digging in. You guys got a lot of talent returning this year in the Big 12, so it shouldn't be too much of a surprise to you that we've noticed that Iowa State, in a very interesting conference, should be one to be looked at going into the season.
Yeah, certainly, and without Oklahoma, without Texas, and then adding in the likes of Utah, Arizona, Colorado, the Arizona State, I think there's a lot more parity in the Big 12 this year, and everybody all the head coaches will tell you that, and even at Big 12 media days that I covered out in Las Vegas last month, that parity word was thrown around quite a bit, and I think the Cyclones are certainly one of those teams that has to be looked at as a favorite contender to get down to Dallas for the conference championship game in December. I think experience, I guess, depending on how you chop it up, Iowa State, one of the top 1 or 2 returning teams in the country as far as snaps and production coming back, and a lot of those are skill position guys too. Certainly on the offensive side of the ball, with Rocco Becht coming back, you've got a legit starting quarterback. As kind of the thing is these days, I had a lot of offers in the off season, NIL or pay to play, however you want to say that. Had offers to go elsewhere. Stayed at Iowa State. He's got his top 2 receivers are back. His leading rusher, Abu Sama from a year ago, he's back. And all 5 guys with starting experience on the offensive line are back as well. So certainly has the makings of a great unit on offense. And then you flip over even to defense, and a lot of experience there as well. They were really young there last season. I felt that offense had been really good and maybe took a step back, weren't the same rushing the quarterback, but a lot of those guys have gotten older now, and I just think experience on both sides of the ball is kind of what put Iowa State at number 25 on your poll.
There are a lot of guys back. You mentioned Rocco Becht. I mean, him coming, I don't know if it was out of nowhere, but at least for us, maybe it was a little bit, maybe not for you out there in Ames. I mean, he was a Big 12 freshman of the year last year. He broke school records, I believe, for like completions, yards, touchdowns. And you go, I remember Brock Purdy being there and you guys beating Oregon in the Fiesta Bowl with that senior-laden team a handful of years back.
Yeah, Purdy and Breece Hall, right?
And Breece Hall. I mean, that was a loaded team. And so you kind of reset for a little bit. Did Rocco Becht come out of nowhere? And how good can this kid be?
Well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how many waves this caused out in Oregon, but Iowa State kind of got caught up in that gambling scandal or whatever you would want to call it, where some guys got popped for gambling.
That's right.
And yeah. Well, one of those that got caught up in that was Hunter Deckers, the starting quarterback the year prior. So really, Rocco had gone in. He had gotten some time as a true freshman, kept the red shirt on, played under the 4-game limit. And, all signs were pointing that he was going to still be the backup to Deckers going into last season. And then even in spring ball, Deckers was around for spring ball. So they come out of spring ball, and that's kind of when all that news broke, and Beck kind of had to get ready to be a starting quarterback in the Big 12 in a matter of 2 or 3 months. So they get off to the slow start last season, 1-2, and they really didn't. They were very conservative offensively, more so maybe than we saw even with Deckers or the years that Brock Purdy was around. They were able to kind of turn those guys loose right away. Well, they were very conservative, and I mentioned kind of the issues that they had on the defensive side of the ball. Well, they had a slow start last season, and then with Rocco back now, having that year under his belt, full off season, knowing he's the starter, I think that this is going to be an Iowa State team that starts much faster with Rocco around.
Yeah, kind of a two-parter for you, Bill. One, a name that I think a lot of people will become more familiar with. I know I was in reading about Iowa State this weekend is Beau Freyler, who had an incredible year for them defensively. He is back. He's one of their 8 starters returning from last year's team. I'm curious how big you think that name gets for them within the Big 12. And then also the D coordinator has been with Campbell for 8 years. And it's not in college football now to have a coordinator be with a head coach for that long. Just how kind of underrated that is to developing talent and being able to have highs of Purdy, Brees Hall, and then like you kind of have to restart it at places like Iowa State and develop guys for a couple of years before you can have that trajectory going back up.
Well, it's kind of funny. I think it's a great luxury. Whenever you have the Iowa guy on here, or whenever that's going to be, they've had their same defensive coordinator for several years as well. So it's a nice luxury for both of the Power 4 in-state teams here, and certainly with John Haycock, he has great experience. He had worked with Campbell at Toledo before he came with him to Ames. He's also been a head coach at well, I guess now it's the FCS level, but he was at Youngstown State, and that was 1AA, I think, back when John was there. So he's been around, and I think Iowa State sounds like that's going to be the last stop for him, and he's had offers to go elsewhere, maybe for 2 or 3 more years and close things out, but I think he wants to stay in Ames. And, Iowa State, they kind of were the first or one of the first teams to run that 3-3-5 defense, and that was kind of to counter the air raid or the pass-heavy teams of the Big 12 when they first got to Iowa State. And now they're talking maybe a little more 4-man front or going into like a 4-2-5. So they're getting, I think, a lot more multiple. They were multiple to an extent last season, but I think this year with so much experience at that defensive line, they're going to be able to trot out those 4-man fronts a lot more, and that's also not going to be, to where they have to take a safety off the field necessarily. They're going to take a linebacker off the field, but with that safety depth, you mentioned Beau Freyler, and they've got Jeremiah Cooper back there at safety as well, Malik Verdon, and just so much experience. And with the injuries that they had last season too, Freyler was the only one of those guys that played all 13 games, and Cooper sat out a couple games. Verdon had a season-ending injury, so they could go definitely will go a legit 2 deep at safety, and they're going to feel good about a couple guys in the 3 deep there as well, just with everyone that got playing time that's now back. But certainly Freyler, as you mentioned, he leads the way and is going to be one of the top players again in the conference in 2024.
Don't you worry, Bill. There's only one school from Iowa in our preseason top 25. I need to see the Hawkeyes score an offensive touchdown before I give them top
upset, Bill?
25 respect. Okay, complete a forward pass, and then you can be ranked.
Right. That never comes up on our message board either. No, that never.
We're anti-punts here, I guess.
Anti-punts around here. I love it. It was funny to joke at the beginning of paying attention to Iowa State out in the Northwest. I have always had an affinity for Iowa State. Going back, I don't know if you're this way as a kid, where you watch a team or you see a player on TV and you're like, man, that guy looks cool, or that team looks cool. I'll never forget watching Seneca Wallace and thinking, man, that guy is badass. He is running all over the place, making crazy plays. So I've been an Iowa State fan from far for a long time. Bill Seals previewing the Cyclones, number 25 in the Dirty Poll, at William Seals on Twitter, publisher of Cyclone Report. Thanks so much for the time in Portland, man. We really appreciate it.
Hey, appreciate you guys having me on. It was great talking Cyclones up there in Portland.
There you go. Good stuff from Bill Seals talking Iowa State football.
the great stuff from him. Very informative. I think Iowa State is kind of one of those.
They got a lot of talent back from last year's
They're
team.
kind of a tier 2, I think, in most people's minds to win the conference, but they very well could be in tier 1 with the amount of talent returning offensively and defensively. And Campbell's a great coach. Like, don't let a year or two cloud your view of Matt Campbell. Iowa State's much like a lot of programs, they have to rebuild and restock the shelves and let guys develop and go through their lumps.
He built up to that Fiesta Bowl team, and he's had to rebuild it since.
I'm stunned. You don't have Iowa in the top
20. Scoring offense, what are you going to go, 7-5 this year in a tougher conference? Get out of here.
Okay. That's shocking to me to not have Iowa in the top. I'm not Mr. Iowa.
Hey.
I'll wear the punt sweatshirt.
We'll find out at the end of the year who's in the top 25, all right? When Iowa scores 20 points, they can get ranked. Until then, they're outside the top 25.
I don't know if they did that last year and they were...
What are they, 8-4? How many quality wins did they have? Get the hell out of here. What did they beat last year?
Game?
Yeah, because divisions existed and they don't exist anymore. Let's place a wager, okay? I would love to place. You want a hot take
I don't
on
like
Iowa
Kirk
football?
Ferentz, but damn it, dude, he at least is 9-3.
Will Iowa play in a Big Ten championship game in the next decade?
Well, no, the divisions have changed.
Oh, okay, so they won't be there.
Well, if you took divisions away, they wouldn't have been in it last year.
They wouldn't have been in it hardly ever.
Right.
So that's the reason they were in the Big Ten title game, and that rule doesn't exist anymore.
To not think they're top 25?
Not top 25. Maybe top 30.
8-4?
Also receiving votes, Iowa Hawkeyes.
Okay.
Not receiving
That's
votes.
a hot take. I didn't know you
Is
didn't
that
have
hot?
Iowa in your
Is that
top
hotter
20?
than my Justin Herbert take today? What's hotter, my
they're
Iowa
in,
take or my Herbert take?
Ooh. Iowa not in the top 25 preseason is kind of a hot take. You don't have to like them or their style of play. But...
I want to pull up. I need to make sure they don't have a big non-conference game early that they win and makes me look like an idiot, like right out of the gate.
When does Iowa ever have a big non-conference
Well, they play
game?
Iowa State early in the season, so joke will be on me if they beat Iowa State.
It'd be hilarious if they beat Iowa State.
That would be pretty
Rocco
funny.
throws 2 picks.
They win that
pin
game.
them at the 2 and get a
Oh,
safety.
get out of here with this non-conference schedule. So they get Iowa State. They get them at home. Lucky Hawkeyes getting them. Don't have to go to Ames, travel to Cyclone territory.
Who do you guys have in non-conference?
Tough teams. Oregon State. We play Oregon State in non-conference.
Are they in your top 25?
Yeah. Wait and see. Wait and find out.
I don't think they are because you got to 21.
And they play Illinois State and Troy. Get out of here, Hawkeyes. That's a 2-1 non-conference with a loss to the Cyclones.
I think I'm right if they beat the Cyclones.
At Ohio State, home against Washington, at UCLA. I shouldn't use UCLA as an example.
No, but I think you lose this argument if they beat Iowa State.
I lose the argument.
You lose the argument.
A lot
yeah.
riding on the line in Ames,
There
Iowa.
is,
Or no, not in Ames, Iowa. Where is Iowa?
They're in.
Do we know the town? What's the town? I should know the
I do
town.
know this.
What's
It's,
the town? We should know the town.
Ames and
Ames and when somebody says it, I'm going to be like, yes, that's
Iowa
it.
City.
Iowa City. Thank you. A lot on the line.
How did we forget that?
Exactly. Yeah.
Bo Frailer, keep an eye on that. He was their leading tackler last year. He's kind of a do-it-all guy for them defensively. It could potentially have a huge year in the Big 12.
I will also shout out, he mentioned it there, so I didn't ask about him. Abu Sama, their running back, I think is one of the most underrated players.
And he was a true freshman last year.
True freshman.
Yeah.
If you're playing NCAA football and you kick up Iowa State,
yes,
run Sama, dude. That guy's a stud.
Their white unis, some of the sickest
Clean.
white, clean uniform look in all of college football.
Underrated. They got a black combo too.
Dope name too.
You got the red, the Cyclones. Cool
yeah.
color combo, red and yellow. How do you not? Seneca Wallace. How do you not like Iowa State football? Come on. All right, let's stick in college football with a story that probably isn't true, but let's bring it up anyways. That's next on the Fam.
Who's stinking it up?
Do not go in there.
It's time for Who's Stinking It Up, a sports lowlight that's ripped from the headlines.
We couldn't do diddly poo.
Brought to you by Three Mountains Home Services. Schedule your appointment online at threemountainshomservices.com.
3-2. Well hit by Vargas out to left center, but this one will stay in the park, and it might do it, and it will. Well, the White Sox have now etched their name on the wrong side of history. The losing streak has ballooned to 20 in a row, losing this finale 13-7 to the Twins.
NBC Sports Chicago on the call. 20 straight losses for the Chicago White Sox. The modern era record is 23 by the 61 Phillies.
We're almost there.
The overall record is 26 by 1889 Louisville Colonels.
Yeah, I think if you're a team that doesn't exist anymore, the record shouldn't exist anymore, so we'll see if the White Sox can make history. They are now 60 games below 500.
I think they're going to break the record, and I'm rooting for it, although they do play the A's, so it's kind of a wild card. Who's
A's are
stinking it
feisty.
up? The White Sox are stinking it up, brought to you by Three Mountains Home Services. Make your home services delightful. Let the pros tackle the projects you need completed. Schedule an appointment online, Three Mountains Home Services. That's threemountainshomservices.com.
Hey guys, Sprague here. You've heard me mention that.
At crunch.com.
Hey, Crunch Time, brought to you by Crunch Fitness. Memberships as low as $9.99 per month. Find your Crunch Time in Portland, Vancouver, and online at crunch.com. We'll get to the cheating bastards coming up at the top of the hour. Let's get to this, though. So I stumbled across this. It's one of those, like, this is too good to be true because it's red meat for me and a lot of other people who are like-minded. But it just doesn't seem like it's like, really, could this possibly be the case? There was a story that came out. I don't know how do we power rank our preseason college football publications? Does Athlon reach your top 3? Are they in the mix at all? Are you just a Phil Steele guy? Do you wait for the SI covers?
I'll be really honest. Well, Phil Steele, a good friend of the program. We haven't had him on in a couple of years, but a good friend of the program is number 1.
Yeah, he's number 1 for you.
Probably pick 6 previews.
Okay.
A very, very close number 2.
1 and 2.
And I say that largely because I haven't purchased a pick 6 preview from Brett Ciancia.
But we've had him on the show.
He's a good dude. I don't ever visit Athlon.com.
You never go to Athlon.com?
No, I'm not interested in all their rankings. No. That's largely how I associate them as just like
top 10 linebacker units.
Yeah, the top 10 this, the top 10 that. And I always look at the writer, I'm like, I've never heard of this writer ever. And look, it's not that you can't earn some trust, but I never see the writer again. And So no, I don't have them in my ranking.
Poo-pooing Athlon? Are you a big reader of Athlon over there, Schulte?
No, you're kind of reminding me of like Rivals.com. Like this is we're going back, aren't we, with Athlon?
Is Athlon back in the day? Is that Athlon
A
now?
little bit. I remember reading Athlon when I was like early 20s, but
I
that
used
was
to get the magazine. Yeah.
once again right
You
around
did?
when Rivals
Preseason magazine.
Oh.
I used to buy like all of them. You get like all 5 or however many there were that came out. And Athlon was always one of the preseason magazines that would come out. And you'd have your rankings and where's my team, and you go through the whole thing.
Hot and bothered.
Well, they came out with a take. Athlon Sports did over the weekend. Some not a take, or some reporting on what's going on in Boulder. And it was not pretty. Again, take this with a grain of salt, but basically saying that Dion is not fostering personal development amongst his players, and he is taking a different approach from most coaches. He's desiring ready-made players who can deliver immediate results. That's not a surprise. But it says the approach has its flaws, and the foundation of Coach Prime's Camelot is starting to show cracks. And he goes on to, the article goes on to talk about different altercations and issues that have happened with different players, saying primetime for the CU staff, is what they're calling it, reveals the true nature of the culture inside the Buffaloes program. One former player said it's a real-life Grand Theft Auto. There are many distractions with fights, guns, money floating around. The environment is unlike any I've ever come from. Another former player went deeper into the violent incidents, saying there were 3 separate alleged occurrences over the last year, each unfathomable in normal locker room settings. One of them dealing with Cormani McLean, who was since transferred, saying he was taking a lot of heat from everybody. At the same time, Coach Prime was saying he was in the doghouse and needed to improve. He was getting bullied by Shiloh Sanders. After the Oregon State game, your Beavers did this to them. According to this article, Shiloh slapped him several times in the locker room, which left Cormani screaming, "I'm going to kill you." And after that, you could tell he wasn't mentally there. It's hard when your coaches you trust are calling you derogatory names on the practice field. There's another one about a fight with a new offensive lineman, another offensive lineman, a coach's son, all that. Some people have thrown cold water on this. I highly doubt that all of this is true. Seems like an axe to grind, but nonetheless, when you get a headline like this in August, probably not the best thing.
I'll react to this article when I see an actual beat person write an article like this, or a columnist at a local scribe paper. I've never heard of this writer. A lot of there's a couple anonymous quotes
former
from former
players,
players like we didn't
quotes.
watch Dion kind of make them probably feel awful by not being selected to be on a Dion team. Look,
they were not the Louis. They were not Louis.
You're not breaking any news saying he's doing this differently, that he's maybe not developing younger players, that he's just trying to bring the ready now made player in. We all already know that. Their high school recruiting rank, I think they're the worst in the Big 12. Or they're near the bottom. Like, they're not a very good recruiter in high school. We've seen all the quotes from Dion. I'm not giving this much, if any, legs at all. A fight happened. Yeah, fights happen.
In every locker room.
I just...
Sketchy stuff happens in every locker room.
When I see more credible reporters talk about this, I will give it its due. I'm not diving in. There's also people that are Colorado fans, and I've seen some non-Colorado fans basically saying the timeline of some of these things do not line up exactly.
Whoops.
I don't know. I don't
get your facts straight when you're writing a fake article.
There's a little bit of that to that for me until I see somebody else.
I will say that if there is a beat reporter that's coming out with like some trouble in the locker room, I think that is a concern when you've got like a dad and then his 2 star sons are the best players on the team. If there's some bullying going on, it's just not the best vibe for a locker room if you want to win, But let's hear from the ground first before we start to.
Yeah, there was a clip that went viral from their practice the other day. It was him talking to the team prior to practice, and he was basically like, "Don't touch the quarterbacks, don't touch the wide receivers, and leave Travis alone." And then one player kind of moaned and groaned in the background. And he was like, "When you go to the next level, these guys are making $250 million. You can't touch them then. You think you can touch them now?" And that was like his equivalency. So he definitely plays favorites with certain guys, and I understand it. Travis Hunter's maybe the best player in all of college football, and you don't want him getting hurt. They were a different team when he got hurt last year, but to say that it's to the level of guys getting beat up in the locker room or slapped, that's a pretty serious allegation. To your recruiting note, they had the 15th ranked class in the Big 12 last year. Only Arizona was worse in high school recruiting.
Arizona? Oh, they must have lost.
They lost
some of
Jet
them with their
Fish. They lost
stuff.
a lot of.
Okay.
Some of those kids ended up going to
Okay,
Washington.
so like outside of the caveat, they're the worst.
Of a coach that left the program, they were the worst. And that's with a 5-star recruit too, because Jordan Seaton is also in this, by the way, who was their 5-star offensive lineman. It said that when he showed up in spring, they challenged his manhood, and he had to get in a fist fight with somebody in the locker room after practice.
And has that been reported anywhere else?
No, it is not. No, it is not.
I just think there's a danger in going off of these kinds of articles. It's not been backed up by any person of note, and like anybody can start the article with the obvious. Dion's running things differently,
Yes.
not like most pro. Like, yeah, I already knew that, and I don't cover the team.
He wants win now players. I think you got your Prime sweatshirt on over there. I think you got your Prime glasses on.
I still have the
for
Prime
this.
sweatshirt. I do. I almost bought a Colorado hat at a thrift store.
Did you really?
Well, just because it was an older one.
I like the logo. It's a good logo.
It was an old school logo. But look, a lot of us don't like Colorado, and they think this is going to fall and fail in complete, flames, and there might be a lot of validity to that. But
you give me a week 1 loss at North Dakota State. Ooh, boy.
I'm not gonna follow an Athlon
I had
article
a full body boner for 2 weeks.
as if it's gospel.
North Dakota State, Nebraska 0-2 start. Ooh,
Two
buddy.
obvious programs I think a lot of America are rooting for in weird ways are Dion and Lincoln Riley. I just like those are two teams I'm circling. Like, feels like most of America wants these things to not succeed.
Actively rooting for them to lose. We got a lot to get to in the final hour of the show. As we're almost there, the Michigan cheating bastards, they got caught. And so evidently they were not the victim the entire time. We got some other football notes to get to, an Olympics update. It's a loaded final hour. Don't go anywhere. Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
Hey, it's Suk. And guys, for those of you with a full head of
more. Dirt and Sprague here on Portland Sports Leader 1080 The Fan, 99.5 HD2, the Odyssey app, live on YouTube. What's up, everybody? Yeah, go Beavers! Hope your Mondays are going great. We got a lot to get to in the final hour of the show.
I don't let a lot of things bother. Like I can read differing opinions. I can see people say like, "Hey, I don't agree with that. Sprague, you're an idiot. Like that's a bad take."
Yeah.
I don't know why, but the things that do bother me are when people question if you even know the sport.
Oh, do you even know what you're talking about, bro?
And I had seen this way later, but when we posted the poll question on the Beaver quarterback thing.
Oh, yeah.
I saw a Twitter account and was like.
We did that on Friday, I believe. That was Friday's show. We were talking
Friday show?
Beaver quarterbacks. I think it was maybe Thursday or Friday. I can't remember.
I think it was Thursday because Friday we were in studio.
Touche.
And I can't remember exactly what it was, but somebody had responded and basically was like, all right, who's very uninformed and has no idea what's happening in Corvallis right now?
Oh.
Why would you do Gulbranson?
Oh.
And I'm just like, well, I mean.
What if he ends up being the starter?
I think he's the favorite right now.
I mean, I think the kid from Idaho should be the favorite just because he's played the most.
He's played more than Ben
I think
Gulbranson.
He has more career starts because
Okay.
Gulbranson only had the 1 year where he played, and I think this guy played 2 years at Idaho. But again, I don't know that off the top of my head. But that is ridiculous to think that Gulbranson doesn't have a chance to be the starting quarterback.
Yeah, and like you can give me the offense Gunderson's going to run, and maybe it's a lot of what Chip did, but like you also haven't seen it. Chip called the plays for UCLA, I believe.
Yes, he did.
I don't know. It's I don't know why those ones bother me, but they do.
Yeah, the whole you don't even know what you're talking about.
Who
bro.
are the uninformed people who voted for Gulbranson? He doesn't fit the style of offense. Like, okay, but if he starts week 1, then do you then chime in again? Or I'm always confused by it.
This guy's an absolute idiot. Well, I'm going to start the final hour outside of our moans about the audience coming at us. I have some breaking news.
Okay.
Did you guys know that Michigan cheated? Breaking news. Michigan cheated.
I did not know that.
Can you believe it?
Shocked.
I was shocked to read this piece yesterday.
They investigated in under 4 years.
I mean, they were the victim. They were the victim. They were being persecuted by the NCAA last year.
Wasn't Rashad McCanson like year 6 in the NBA when they finally wrapped that educational investigation for UNC?
Sources told ESPN that a draft of the NCAA's notice of allegations is coming towards Michigan, and Sharon Moore, their new head coach, is one of 7 members of the 2023 football program accused of violating NCAA rules, and it is stating that Moore could face a show cause penalty and possibly a suspension for allegedly deleting a thread of 52 text messages with former Michigan staffer Connor Stalions on the same day that media reports revealed Stalions was leading an effort to capture play calling signals of future opponents. So remember that whole lone wolf thing? We didn't even know who this guy was. He was just kind of coming and going, filming.
Yeah, interesting. That was the initial take.
I didn't know who he was. I've never even seen this guy before. Nope, that was not quite the case. Their now head coach, Sharon Moore, deleted text messages the day the media report surfaced. And it was also once again confirmed, and I have brought this up, I want to say 4 or 5 times in the offseason of college football, how he was on the sidelines of a Central Michigan game and we moved on. Like there was just a non-coach on another sideline
with recording glasses.
filming Michigan State, who was ass, by the way, last year. You didn't need to cheat to beat Michigan State. And it was him. And the report has come out indicating that, yes, it was him. They still can't figure out how he got the pass.
Nope.
I love how Central Michigan is just getting a freebie out of this. Like, nobody's going to get turf there, that they allowed a Michigan coach to put on their gear and come on their sideline and cheat when they played Michigan State. But it was proven in the NCAA, or it was at least in this report, that was indeed Connor Stalions on the sideline in Central Michigan gear.
So Sharon Moore getting suspended for this would be kind of hilarious.
It would be. He was the suspended coach replacement last year.
He was. I don't know where I go on this. I think ultimately, none of this is shocking. They absolutely were covering and lying about what was happening with Connor Stalions. We all knew that in real time, and we all said as much.
Yeah.
I'll be curious to see what Stalions says on the Netflix thing, because he reportedly would not cooperate with the investigation.
Nope.
So he was holding that for Netflix. I think the other thing I keep going back and forth, and I'm fascinated to hear your take on this.
What do you got?
You tell me Michigan's the best team in college football last year. I don't bat an eye. I don't say, yeah, no, I question that. But, like, I just found it to be a very weird place as a fan that they were allowed to participate after being found out cheating at that level.
I remember you saying this, the playoff, because so much of when the playoff was announced, so much of the debate turned into Florida State and Alabama. And you and I were on different sides of that. I had no problem with Alabama being in. You were adamant that Florida State should have been in.
That their resume, that their season
undefeated,
had earned their way in despite what the quarterback situation was.
And I remember you saying at the time of like, why are we spending so much time debating Florida State or Alabama when Michigan blatantly cheated all year?
Yeah.
And they played nobody in non-conference, which this year that's getting adjusted. They're playing Texas this year in non-conference early in the year.
Good for them.
Good for them. And none of the debate was about Michigan being left out as blatant cheaters. And now it has been I mean, we all knew it. Now the report's coming out. Their head coach left to go to the NFL, largely because I think he knew what was coming.
He's never coming back to college.
He's not. He might get a permanent ban out of this.
Yeah.
That was in this reporting as well. A level 1 show cause penalty where he might not even be allowed to coach college football again if he wants to come back to college football. And it just, we talked about this like a week or two ago, and I remember asking the question, when I say Houston Astros, what comes to mind?
Cheating.
And when I say Michigan, and this was before all of this was resurfaced, I feel like they just kind of skate.
They did.
They don't get the same allegation of those cheating bastards. They're the villain of the sport. It's like Harbaugh's kind of funny and all right, he was wearing glasses in fake disguise on another sideline. They have kind of skated through all of this, and I'm glad at least it's back in the forefront because they blatantly cheated for the last 2 to 3 years.
I think what's tough and the difference would be is like Houston cheating in the pros in a sport like baseball, where I think we see that and we go, well, like any given time, a team that's talented can lose in a series or a moment that they shouldn't. Whereas college, we all looked at that team and said, loaded everywhere. Secondary, defensive line, offensive line, quarterback was experienced. They had Roman Wilson at wide receiver. They had the running back whose name has just escaped me right now. Oh
God!
Damn it! Second time we've
you
choked.
Saying that now is making me brain fart on
Blake Corum.
Blake Corum, thank you.
Like they were loaded, and it wasn't a question of talent.
No,
we all knew they were maybe the best team in college football, and Harbaugh's a damn good coach.
They were in the playoff back-to-back years leading into that year,
and so I think because of the pro-college difference, that's why they skated. I thought it was weird in real time to listen to people we love and respect do all of their podcasts and shows and write-ups, and like it just kind of went away. Like they had a massive cheating scandal happening from 2021 going into 2023 and probably even 24.
When they flipped the rivalry. Isn't that funny how it happened?
They had play cards. They were printing. They deleted text messages. They gave their team signals when other teams were in formations and then would like when they'd Omaha out of it and hot route their asses out of it. They would rotate their defense because they knew what they were going into.
Right.
And we just like moved on, allowed that to still be in the background and said, yep, they're deserving to be in the playoff. They're the national champion. Again, probably the best team in college football last year. Just a very odd, weird national champion that I'm going to look back and go, that program grossly cheated their way to the top. I watched them lose to TCU the year prior in the playoff. And what did we find out about that? That TCU had caught wind of their cheating.
They changed all their calls.
And created all these dummy calls.
Right.
And then look who looked dumb in that playoff game.
Yeah.
Michigan.
They gave up like 60 points to TCU.
So it's such a weird thing to be in. And like, I'm not one that says that they should vacate. Like, I watched it happen. They beat Alabama. They beat UW. But, buddy, if I'm a Bama UW fan, there's a part of me that's like...
Hanging the banner?
I'm not hanging a banner, but I'm kind of like mentally like, those guys cheated. They're cheaters. It's a group of cheaters.
The way that I remember it, and I agree with you. I hate cheaters. I can't stand people that don't follow through on what they say. Like, this is like the peak of things that piss me off in the world of sports, this right here. But I do remember initially late November when we did see, all right, you know what? The Big Ten actually doing something, trying to respond, remove Jim Harbaugh from the sidelines for this. And I thought the sentiment at that time was, okay, you know what? We don't ever see any kind of punishment in real time for these kinds of allegations. And what this does for Michigan, at least in my opinion at the time, and I think a lot of others, was it's going to make Michigan play Ohio State, going to make them play Penn State, which were really good teams late in the season last year without their head coach. And it's like, you know what? Okay, now other teams, if you want to take their asses, go beat them. It sucked. They couldn't. But I feel like that there was an opportunity for Michigan to get ousted at the end of last season. Other teams didn't take care of business. And then the cheating scandal kind of just floated away. And I agree, nobody's really talking about it. But at the time, I thought the other schools in the Big Ten gave opponents an opportunity to stuff it to them.
So real quick, Dirt, on what he's saying, that's fine to have the take. I don't necessarily disagree with it because you need to get information. What I would also say is suspending Harbaugh was a sneaky smart move in Michigan's favor because, according to this report, who orchestrated all this? The current staff. Sharon Moore is in contact with Connor Stallions, who deleted text messages. So,
Harbaugh didn't have text messages with Connor Stallions in the
Harbaugh was the
investigation.
guy at the top saying, just figure it out. Leave me out. Bye. And then everybody else is dialing this up and figuring it out. It's suspend me, please. It's like, okay, great. All the other cheaters are still coaching.
Well, I do think that's a good point from Schulte because, you use the Astros as an example, right? We find out, I think I don't think we knew at the time when they won the World Series that they were cheating. We found out in the aftermath.
It was when Mike Friars signed with a new team and then came out with a statement, I think,
That's
the next
right.
season
Yeah.
that said, hey, this is what was happening.
I don't think that the suspensions and punishment happened until maybe even the next year. It was like a year and a half, 2 years later that you started to get guys fired and the GM and the coach. And I know the players were never held accountable, and that will always piss people off. And I totally get that, right? But there's a players' union, and that's really hard to do in Major League Baseball. So to your point, Schulte, there was real-time punishment here. Your point, Sprague, on Michigan having to do this last year is so spot on because it almost reminds me, and this is a soft spot for me, it's like a Barry Bonds argument. Like, why did you didn't need to take steroids. You were one of the best players in the history of the game.
Yes.
You were a first ballot Hall of Famer in everybody's minds prior to 1999. And then you go on to break all these records because you felt like you needed to do this to, beat Hank Aaron or Mark McGwire and so to piss you off, whatever.
Right.
And it has totally tainted everything that shouldn't have been tainted. Michigan probably would have won the national championship with or without cheating last year. They didn't play an opponent with a pulse until November 11th.
Yeah.
Until they played Penn State. To Schulte's point, they had Penn State and Ohio State in 2 of the last 3 games of the season.
Yep.
Prior to that, they played East Carolina, UNLV, and Bowling Green in non-conference. They cheated and stole the signs of Michigan State. Michigan State was so bad last year.
Yeah, they had Mel Tucker situation pop up. They had coachless situation.
Baylor School for the Blind didn't need to cheat to beat Michigan State last year. That's how bad. It was so unnecessary to do.
Yeah.
And I think it probably started years before this as an impetus to we have to beat Ohio State.
Oh yeah,
and I think that's where it began. And then it spiraled into this. Well, if we're doing this to beat Ohio State, we beat them. How do we feel about scouting all these other teams? And it ended up becoming this big web of cheating. But it just is hilarious that it was totally unnecessary because, to your point, that team was loaded. The schedule was cake. And by the time they won the national championship game, everybody knew that they were cheating. By the time we got to the end of the year, everybody knew that they were cheating. So you could change your signs, you go through different calls, you change everything about your process, and they still won the games fair and square late in the year, proving that they didn't have to do this, completely tainting their first national championship since 1997.
You obviously have a passionate hatred for the team they beat in the title game. If that was Oregon, I'm just curious.
I'm hanging half of a trophy, half of a banner. Cut it down the middle. Cut down the middle of the banner. Maybe the Huskies can sew this one together with their other half national championship, and then you have 2 halves that come into one, and you have one.
Now they're counting playoff appearances.
Now, they already have those banners up. The participation trophies are there. Now you tie together the 2 half banners. You have one full banner, man.
I'm not going to make fun of Washington, by the way, for having playoff appearances. I wish Oregon State had that. I mean, I wish we could put up a
I wish Oregon would have won the Pac-12 title game and gone to the playoff.
Didn't get the season right either, but
well, I just remember how we felt when Belichick and the Patriots and Spygate and Deflategate, they beat the Rams because they filmed their practices. That was one of the greatest offensive teams we've ever seen. And the Patriots, as 2 touchdown underdogs, flat out beat them. We're like, man, what a great story. And they're like, They filmed all their practices. They had all of the formations,
all of it,
all of their audibles. They knew everything that was going to happen.
And they still almost lost.
And they still almost lost, which I think speaks to the Rams' talent. But
and then Brady did basically nothing, but he's the GOAT because he won that game.
Well, they did leave 8 seconds on that clock and just kind of tick it off at the end of that field goal.
Hey,
too.
yes.
Go rewatch the game. John Madden with a minute 42 was like, "Oh, I knew this and go to overtime." And you're like, "Oh, that didn't age well."
Oh, I remember my dad saying,
John.
too much time, we're going to lose.
Love it. What do you make? What should be the punishment here? How is this all going to shake out? It is great timing to join the Big Ten because Michigan might be facing very serious punishment in year one, and Oregon goes to Ann Arbor later this year. I believe Michigan is in Seattle this year, if I'm not mistaken.
They are, yeah.
So they play both the Huskies and the Ducks.
Boy, it's wild because we don't know how it probably would have been Georgia in lieu of Michigan, but if the Big Ten would have prohibited them from. Well, probably would have been Ohio State, actually, because they would have won the Big Ten Conference. But if they would have banned them and actually had the cojones to do that, are we talking about the Washington Huskies as defending champions? Like,
it could be.
It's just, you got to be
Does
living.
Kalen DeBoer leave if he wins a national championship? Does he still leave if he wins and doesn't get dog walked by 21 points in that game?
Talking
I
about
mean, they still would have lost all that talent.
Alabama coach Lane Kiffin or something. God.
Boy, what a world we live in. If
bizarro
the Big
world.
Ten would have actually just nutted up and said, "No, you are the biggest cheaters. You're not allowed to play in this," and you wouldn't have been in the playoff.
Imagine the controversy. They beat Ohio State, but then Ohio State still gets to go to the Big Ten title game.
Yes.
How many people would have been pissed off by that?
Don't cheat. I mean, there's a
I
pretty
know.
easy response to that. Don't cheat like that.
I saw one message board from a Michigan fan saying that we should just leave the NCAA and play international football teams in Ann Arbor as a showcase and become a semi-pro level of football.
Oh, please do it. Nobody would care.
What should we do with Michigan? Your thoughts are welcome. Vancouver Ford text lines 503-864-6326. I got a couple of other NFL training camp notes I'm going to get to. That's coming up next on The Fan.
It's time for a sports injury report. The injuries and rehab that impact the success of sports teams. Brought to you by Rock Orthopedic.
Xavier, you woke up a Carolina Panther. Did you have to pinch yourself?
Say it one more time.
So you woke up a Carolina Panther this morning. Did you have to pinch yourself a little bit?
Oh no, man. I woke up ready, man. I got a call right after I got dressed. They was coming to pick me up at 9:30 in the morning. I told them I'm going to be ready.
Xavier Leggett, that was from when he was drafted out of South Carolina. He was injured, they thought very significant, but the MRIs have come back negative, and one of my favorite NFL players now.
He is somebody I think everybody's rooting for. He just seems like such a happy-go-lucky guy who's grateful to be in the NFL. Loved that clip that we played earlier. Unfortunate to hear about a lower leg injury, but it's good that it's a negative.
Sports Injury Report presented by Rock Orthopedic, board-certified specialists who diagnose and treat the widest range of orthopedic cases with care and expertise. To schedule an appointment with Dr. Sam Cheeseman, visit rocpdx.com.
A home for the Beavs and Cougs?
For
Michigan fan has chimed in with a go blue. They beat a team Dan couldn't beat.
Hey. If I'm Michigan fan.
Well played, Troll. Well played.
Hey, I don't know if
Appreciate
I'm
that.
defending the cheating part, but I'm definitely like, yeah, I love this. We won the title, so, whatever.
I mean, this is what look. It's not a Michigan fan thing. This is what every fan base does, and I know I've had to deal with my team cheating or players cheating. You defend your guy. Every fan base is the same.
Willie
Lyles was a great man who helped people further their professional careers and get them into opportunities to go to college.
Yeah.
Is that a bad thing? We don't want kids going to college in this country.
There were dead recruits on that list.
Yeah, there was.
It
one
could have been
kid.
good. I bet they were good.
Look, there is also an element, like you can read about the history of the sport of football. There's all kinds of, whether you call it cheating, I don't know what that line is for everybody, but there's all kinds of things. Growing grass longer, putting sprinklers on so a team can't run the football efficiently. There's all kinds of little things. I think this is just a little different for me, and I think the crazy thing is always just going to be that, like, we knew it, we talked about it for about a week and a half, 2 weeks, and then everybody just went on acting as if nothing needs to happen to them.
Yeah.
And if you're a Michigan fan and you're hearing all of this, you're like,
dude, I don't care. I got a title.
But we won the championship. Like, sure, I totally get that stance as well.
You tell me Oregon wins a national title and it comes out they were doing all sorts of nefarious things behind the scenes, like paid $80 million for their roster. You think
that's not illegal anymore, actually.
You think I'm going to care at all? No.
Well, but after this, I mean, like, what fan base is not, you know what I mean? Like, who's going to point to this and go, oh, I can't believe you cheated. Like, now that this precedent has been set, it kind of changes things.
One listener chiming in saying, is there anyone else like me who kind of just doesn't really care about the Michigan stuff anymore? I hated it at the time, but then they still won without cheating, just like the Astros. I hated it, but now it's kind of like whatever.
Well, yeah, I moved on too until this came out last night, and I'm not going to re-talk about this for a week. I'll probably see what Stallion says in the Netflix stuff. But
and there'll be we'll get to it when the punishment comes down, because there will be a if you're getting a notice of level 1 out, sanctions or allegations, whatever they call it.
I think more is 2.
He's 2. That's right. He's 2.
One is for the guys basically that are net like I think Harbaugh and
most of them are gone. Denard Robinson, Jim Harbaugh, I believe Jesse Minter might have been 11-1 guy too. And then remember, they scapegoated their linebacker coach who they fired last year, and he was the guy they fired. Yeah. And he was also 11.
Well, he was trying to pressure a player to not talk to investigators.
Yes. There was a story in there about how Connor Stallions gave a player like a sheet of their stolen calls when the investigation started, and was like, you take this to your house, I'll come pick it up later. And the player was like, okay. Like, had to take the sheet home back to his house. Remember when Blake Corum opened up a vacuum sale company with Connor Stallions? Remember that report?
Vacuum sales?
You don't remember that?
No.
Like they opened an LLC together.
He had like all these old ass vacuums on his front porch, and they went up to the house. It's like all of these old vacuums are just sitting there because he had an LLC as a vacuum salesman.
Yeah, I don't blame Michigan fan for saying that. I would say the same thing if it was my program. It's
you're telling me all these SEC teams, Miami
everybody cheats,
didn't
right?
cheat. I mean, come on. We've been cheating in that sport forever.
I mean, I bring this up all the time. My team lost the national championship game because Auburn was allowed to pay Cam Newton's dad $250,000 because it was a church donation. So, teach their own.
God, he was a good football player.
He was so good, dude.
He was so good.
He was so good. I don't think he gets the respect he deserves in some of those top 10, top 15 lists.
Well, he does some of that to himself with some of the things
athletes.
he says, but pro too. I mean, he was an amazing pro quarterback until he got his shoulder hurt.
If you want good content, by the way, go find yourself some Cam Newton playing NCAA football content, because he's doing a lot of like Twitch stuff where he's playing the game. And he was matched up against somebody. I just saw clips of it on social media. Just blatantly, openly racist. Like guys saying super racist stuff to Cam Newton, and they're playing NCAA football.
Like calling him the N-bomb and stuff?
I don't think he went far as N-word, but a lot of like food choices and lifestyle. He was going down that kind of road. And Cam Newton just dominated him, and he made the guy quit, and he just starts laughing and laughing and laughing. And it was kind of funny to see a racist get shoved into a locker.
Cam Newton's kind of one of those guys that, like, a lot of people don't like and dislike. I don't agree with a lot of what he says about current players, but I'll always kind of defend Cam Newton.
Yeah.
He was a remarkable football player.
He was, and he was officiated different. It was just everything about him was unique. So there you go. That's enough of Michigan conversation for the day. I didn't get to my other NFL notes, but Michigan, we'll wait and see what the punishments get. There is going to be a punishment here. How severe to certain players, individuals, team, will they be banned from a bowl game and all that, scholarship reductions? We'll have to wait and see on that. The NCAA does not have a lot of authority anymore. So we'll see how aggressive they want to be.
I know they control a lot of like these bowl game things and stuff. What point does a program, maybe it's Michigan, just say, "Oh, he's spent 2 games. We don't care.
We don't care. We're not.
He'll be out there.
Just go coach.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah, shut down our program. Really, for Michigan, we just won the national.
Throw
title.
white guys out of here.
We got some Blazer news. What does it mean, if anything? We'll talk about that and some NFL camp notes. All of that still to come in the next half hour. First, here's Schulte with SportsCenter.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a SportsCenter update on 1080 The Fan.
This update is brought to you by Laurelhurst Market Steakhouse and Butcher Shop. Grab your meat for grilling season. Save 10% on your Butcher Shop order when you dine in. Menus at laurelhurstmarket.com. First on the Fan, news out of college football. Late last night into this morning, New Michigan head coach Sharon Moore facing potential sanctions, including a show cause, penalty, or suspension. This follows allegations of NCAA rule violations, according to a draft notice obtained by ESPN. This draft claims that Moore deleted a thread of 52 text messages with former staffer Connor Stallions, who was implicated in a scandal over stealing play calling signals. Good local news, though, in college football. Less than a month before their season opener against Idaho, the Ducks landing a huge commitment from the nation's #1 safety, Trey McNutt, over the weekend. He chose Oregon over Florida, Texas A&M, Ohio State, and USC. McNutt marking Oregon's second 5-star recruit out of the 2025 class. And in baseball, the Mariners failing to get the sweep against the Phillies. Their bats going quiet with 11 strikeouts in the 6-0 loss. There is a silver lining. Seattle is still thankfully in first place by just a game, though, in the AL West. The Rays did beat the Astros yesterday 1-0. An off day for the Mariners today before Detroit comes to town for a 3-game set tomorrow. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Schulte at the 1080 The Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
One number does it all for contests and texting your favorite fan shows. The Vancouver Ford text line is 503-864-6FAN.
All right, my Windhorse fingers are up. Welcome back in, 8:35. Now, what does that mean? What does that mean?
Wow.
News out this morning. Somebody texted in earlier when in the midst of screaming about NFL quarterbacks, saying, God, could you guys just say anything? Tell me anything about the Blazers.
Looking for Blazer content right now.
Hey,
huh?
August 5th Blazer content, man. The people are craving. August 5th highly anticipated season. Give me that Blazer
Hot
content.
Blazers news.
Hot Blazer talk.
I'll give you a Blazer tease.
Oh, okay.
Side-eye emoji.
Side-eye Windhorse fingers.
Could be news coming fairly soon.
Ooh.
I'll tell you that right now.
I thought we heard that like a month ago about
Well,
another player other than
Oh, what does it mean?
I didn't say it
What
a
does
month
it
ago.
mean,
I said
Basil?
it now.
What does it mean?
Stay tuned.
Tell me more.
I didn't expect that.
Stay tuned.
Well, the news this morning from Woj, just groundbreaking news from Woj. I mean, big time stuff.
Woj bomb.
The water carrying knows no bounds.
Is this even considered a bomb?
No.
I don't think it is.
I mean, anything Woj tweets is a bomb.
All right.
Based on the rookie year, I'd say it's a BB.
Scoot Henderson has signed
Oh.
with Clutch Sports.
Uh-oh.
Da, da, da.
He's left Parlay Sports.
Huh?
For Clutch Sports.
Parlay Sports sounds like a daily fantasy website, doesn't it?
It does.
Come play Parlay Sports, parlaysports.com.
Fantasy gambling.
We got all the picks for you to win, big buddy.
Yeah.
Beat the books.
Use the code DIRT and Sprague.
DNS at checkout.
So here you go, Blazer fan. Here's your Blazer segment. What does this mean, Basil? Anything? Are we doing anything with this?
Yeah.
Okay, Blazer Brandon, tell me what does it mean?
There
Technology and stuff.
are two now Clutch Sports teams in the NBA, the Los Angeles Lakers and the Portland Trail Blazers. 60% of our roster is Clutch Sports at this point. Our coach is pseudo Clutch Sports. They negotiate his contract, even though he's not technically a client. I believe our general manager also has his stuff dealt through Clutch.
Is this a good thing or a bad thing? We want to be good with Clutch, or are we too close to Clutch?
We've spent almost all of our energy sending Clutch clients to good places.
We have, yeah.
Go look at the Clutch relationship with the Blazers. Quite prominent. They're together in a lot of ways.
I mean, LeBron's going to own the Blazers. Is that what you're telling me?
I'd be okay with that. I'd be A-okay. Player owner, first ever in NBA history. Be great.
Paul Allen owns the Blazers. Brings in Bryce James.
I mean, this means one of two things. I don't think it dictates terms per se. What I would say is if Scoot has a really good second year, that's going to lead into a massive third year. And at that point, given who we draft, that dude's probably going to be looking at the heftiest of paydays at the rookie extension point.
Yeah.
Or he gets dealt where he wants to get dealt.
Mm.
That's kind of my two takeaways. When you have a relationship with an agency, Neil used to have this, I forget the agency and the agent, but he had a good relationship with like one guy, and he would just keep rotating guys from that agent.
Did he happen to be Norm Powell and CJ McCollum's agent?
When you have these kinds of relationships, it's agent-team based in a lot of ways, and Portland is a heavy Clutch team. So what does it mean? It means if Scoot can up his career profile and change things statistically, he's probably going to get near the rookie max extension. Which is debatable at this point, but let's wait and see what Scoot is. Or Scoot is not good.
He's going to get dealt to wherever he wants to go.
We draft his replacement, and he ends up finding a nice little home for himself, because how dare you put a Clutch client in a bad place?
This is God. This is more good news for Clutch as opposed to the Blazers, right? This is them expanding their profile of players.
Well, they got a notable player. They got third pick in the draft from a season ago. Like, yeah, Clutch is already in a good spot. This puts them in an even better spot.
But I don't like it for the Blazers because I do feel like, not feel like it, kind of evidenced in seeing the players that he signed and traded for, that Joe Cronin's kind of getting a call or somebody in the ear from Clutch, like every time there's a move to be made, like, hey, why don't you bring our guy in? And I'm just not looking at the roster of Clutch players, seeing like any big game changers there.
Well,
so,
this is the NBA.
Outside the damn box.
It's the NBA in a nutshell, man. That's kind of how it operates, unfortunately, is the agent-team relationships.
Relationship business. I saw they signed a guard randomly last week when I was on vacation.
Devontae Graham.
Yeah.
Non-guaranteed camp invite.
Okay, because I thought we were at a full roster.
We are.
Which made me confused.
This smells more like a favor, let a guy get his name out there, and
so not a trade on the horizon, because when that happened, everybody thought a trade
know.
was on the horizon.
Well, I think it's a natural thing to go, hey, you got not only another player on
another
a full roster,
guard.
you got a guard.
Yes, where we don't have a lot of need.
I won't certainly dismiss the idea that it could have a trade at some point, because we know Ant wants to win, but largely this is reported so far just a non-guaranteed camp invite.
You know what blows my mind every year?
The Blazers in their current predicament, being bad for another season, having probably the worst 4-year stretch in franchise history at this point of our lives. I mean, those are all valid things to be blowing your mind. Probably going to have the worst 5-year stretch because even though we get a good player in the draft next year, they're not going to be good in that year.
I mean, the fact that we're like
that thing,
all of that is applicable, and I will allow that under the umbrella of what blows my mind. The other thing is, like, aren't we like a month away from guys like training? When is training camp open?
Training camp's like the end of August. Well, the end of this month. Like, no, it's somewhere like mid early September.
After Labor Day, yeah.
Like, we're like a month away from NBA training camp being here.
Yes.
The NBA is always that, like, one in the corner in the middle of football season of like, hey, we're here. We're starting our season.
We're still existing.
Pay attention to us.
Actually, I got more Blazers breaking news.
Schulte, what do we got? Give me a trade. Come on. Give me a trade.
No trade, but Brett Siegel from Clutch Points said in the last few hours that at some point, says via Twitter, the Blazers and DeAndre Ayton are expected to part ways, according to sources. Yet the former first overall pick,
first of all,
doesn't command a market.
I think it's really sexy
at this time.
Clutch
because
Points
Donovan Clingan was the best player in the NBA in Summer League, bitch. We don't need you anymore, Ayton. Get out of here.
Clutch Points is like a graphic generator on Twitter. I don't know if anybody should really cite that they work with Clutch Points unless they're really good at Photoshop.
Hey, he's a national NBA insider, is what Brett Siegel says.
I mean, he's also talking about something we've all kind of already known, that Ayton's not for long as their center. That's why they drafted Klingan.
Did you get the joke? That's why.
No, I know.
I brought it up in the first place.
No, but I love that you brought it up because I saw this and people were like, oh my God, real? I can't believe.
Wait,
did you see who they drafted?
I mean, they drafted a center with a top 10 pick.
What about the Twin Tower attack, guys? Greg Oden, Joe Prisbilla, when they were on back in the day.
So their first 4 years of existence as a franchise, 29, 18, 21, and 27 wins.
Blazers in his Blazer history?
Right now, they're at 27, 33, 21. And their over-under's 22 and a half. So if they get in the teens, it'll be the worst 4-year stretch in franchise history.
Yes,
and they should be.
They will be in the teens this year
once they trade guys.
Yeah, it'll eventually.
Or at
happen.
least they should trade guys.
Yeah. All right, well there you go. There's your Blazer segment. Does everybody feel good? Everybody like their Blazer segment? Is that needed? You need a Blazer segment in your life today?
Well, I mean, it's just another. Clutch being a part of this I don't think it's an accident.
Yeah. Still going to get 19 wins this year. Doesn't change that.
CAA and Clutch. That's it. That's the NBA in a nutshell.
It is wild because this year will be the year we have to decide if we want to give Shaden Sharp an extension, right?
Yeah, I talked about this with the homie Richmond on his pod.
This is the year because after year 3, you got to decide rookie extension.
Unless his stats are completely through the roof, which I think he'll improve, barring he stays healthy. You're not giving him a full rookie max extension.
You're not going to?
You're not giving him the Franz Wagner.
Does that piss him off? And then is he not going to reset? Baby Kobe, Sprague, what happened?
Dude, you're not giving him the Franz Wagner.
He's not a Franz Wagner.
I think somebody else
not
would.
Yet.
Not yet.
He'd have to really put up like 27, 7 and 7,
Woo!
Shooting like
All-star.
39%. Well, maybe. Yeah, probably close to that all-star round. He'd have to have that kind of year for me to go, yeah, rookie max extension, let's do it.
What a big disappointment if he gets hurt again this year.
I mean,
last year was his breakout potential. That team was terrible. He was going to get so many shots and so many minutes. It was going to be his team.
Yeah.
Passing of the torch.
31 games.
Nothing.
31 games. I think the biggest Blazer news is that Clyde was at Dick's. He was at a big Dick's opening.
Oh, yeah, they opened a new location.
Jansen Beach. We talked about this when you were out too the day
they
before you
opened
got
a
back.
Dick's in Jansen Beach?
Massive Dick's.
Massive Dick's?
Huge Dick's.
Whoa.
Big Dick's.
Really?
Big Dick's.
Shocked that
how much bigger is it than the normal Dick's?
Like golf simulators are in there.
No way,
Shopping.
really?
They're trying to revitalize Jansen Beach.
Do I need to go to Jansen Beach? Is that what you're telling me? I'm a big fan of Dick's.
I love Dick's. I love when there's a big Dick's and there's a big Dick's up the highway.
Yeah.
Big corporation growing, that's actually not very common nowadays.
They had
Big
Clyde
Dick's
out
going
there.
up. That's pretty cool.
Clyde out there, and Golden Tate showed up.
Golden Tate?
They had signings for those guys.
Golden Tate?
Golden Tate.
That's a throwback.
Okay.
You know what I would have brought Golden Tate that I thought
All right.
would have stood out and maybe would have made him laugh that'd be different than all of the other people he met and signed for?
Uh-huh.
I would have showed up with a maple bar. Does anybody get that reference?
Do you think he would sign it? Do you think he would joke about that?
I think he would laugh, and then I'd give him something to sign or get a photo.
Yeah.
Like, does anybody get that joke?
What did Gottlieb steal again?
Credit cards.
Credit cards. If you showed up with a credit card to a Gottlieb signing, you think he would laugh about it?
I
or
think
would
he'd
he
be pissed.
Stick in the butt?
He'd tell you. Yeah, he'd tell you.
I think those are two
shove it.
different personality types. I think I'm way serious douchebag who lives in Newport Beach, and I think I'm fun-loving former NFL guy who had a pretty nice career
Really
for
good
myself.
career. Really good career.
And now I'm signing things at Big Dick's. And so, like, bringing him a maple bar would be fantastic because if you don't remember, I think his rookie year, he broke into a Top Pot donut shop.
Yes.
Took some maple bars.
He did. Prime college days.
I
Golden
mean,
Tate.
Have you ever had Top Pot?
Yeah.
Really good donut.
Good donut.
Really good donut.
Well, there you go. Blazer news. Scoot signs with Clutch. So there's your Blazer segment for the day. Let's wrap it up. Send you on your way. A little Olympic updates, some NFL news and notes as well. Close it up on a Monday next on The Fan. Well, we're a couple days away from the NFL preseason picking back up. How about Thursday night? Can I interest you?
Hell yeah, brother. Don't even say it. I don't need the teams. I don't need the place. Just say Thursday
excited.
night, there's football on.
NFL Network, Thursday night, 5 o'clock.
Please.
Bryce Young versus Drake May.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if both of them are playing, but we did find out that in the preseason opener, you will get to see Jaden Daniels.
I believe
for the
Caleb
Washington
is also going to play.
Commies. in their next game. He didn't play in the Hall of Fame game,
Well,
which made
yeah.
sense because they'd only been in camp for like a week, and none of their starters played. But I'm glad that he's going to play in the next one. It's a big reason for me to watch preseason football. Not that you take much away from it, but just to, hey, it's a glimpse at rookie quarterbacks. How do they look? You don't want to. It's similar to me of summer league, of like, if a guy plays great in summer league, it's not an indicator that he's going to be a great NBA player, because we have how many examples over the years?
Quintel Woods,
Jared Bayless, right?
Yeah.
Go down the list every year. It is a major concern, though, if you don't look good in summer league, of like, hey, really? You can't hack it against non-NBA players? How do we think that's going to translate? Where I think preseason football is somewhat similar. Of like, I'm not asking you to go out there and be Joe Montana in your first preseason game, but if you look like crap, maybe there's a red flag. If you look great, fan bases are going to be thrilled. I can't wait to see how these young guys look.
Yeah, no, I think it's an exciting thing. Caleb playing and Jaden Daniels playing, and I haven't confirmed if Caleb is playing. I haven't seen that yet. But they'll be on at the same time. I think their games start an hour apart, so you'll be able to at least see one before they pull him and then get to see the other. Look, you're right. Preseason doesn't dictate what these guys are going to be in their careers, but it gives us a little view. Bryce Young, for example, I'm out on him in general. I just don't believe in a quarterback being that small ever succeeding in winning you a Super Bowl. But maybe Canales tapped into something with Baker that he can bring here. Carolina's defense was pretty decent. I don't know how much hope they should have in Carolina offensively, but they hired an offensive coach, so that kind of changes the way you feel about it. Maybe he'll be able to go out there and make some of the naysayers feel really wrong about how they view his career. It's preseason, but it could be a good snapshot of maybe he's getting the ball out quicker, his protection's a little better.
Yeah.
They're not asking him to do as much and carry everything because he might not be that kind of player. And so with the restart at coach, it could change the viewpoints of them.
It is wild. We were talking about quarterbacks earlier in the show and rankings and, yelling our hot takes about where guys should be ranked. But it is funny how quickly you are expected to deliver in this league. And that Bryce Young, whether it's fair or not, I would largely argue not fair.
It's very unfair.
This is it.
You get 2.5 years at most in the NFL now, whereas we used to watch guys get 4 years, like a solid 4.
Play the scenario out that Bryce Young sucks and the Panthers suck. Now, they, I believe, own their first-round pick this year, unlike last year where they sent it to Chicago and they could have had Caleb Williams. Oopsies. This year, I believe they own their first-round pick. Let's say they go 3-14 again.
Yeah, is it Carson Beck? Is it Quinn Ewers? Is it Shador? Like,
you taking one of those guys after 2 years of Bryce Young, number 1 overall pick?
And at Beck, what is Beck? Beck's like 6'4", isn't he?
He's
a big dude. So it's like if you have him and he goes out there and he balls out and he wins the SEC, if you're awful and he's not very good, that's not his coach. That's a new journey. And so you see how that is with general managers. With coach, it's like if that's not the quarterback they wanted, that's easy for that relationship to get over pretty quickly.
Well, we also get Hard Knocks this week, so closer and closer to football actually beginning.
That's tomorrow.
It's tomorrow night is the first episode.
I believe it's Tuesday.
Did you guys watch the off-season version?
I watched a couple of the Giants one, yeah.
Me too. I only got 2 episodes in. I kind of forgot about it after that.
I think then you get closer. I'm this way with the real Hard Knocks when it starts, where like the first 3 episodes you're like, yes, Hard Knocks. And then by the time the final one airs, you're like, college football has already begun and there's actual football on TV. And so you're kind of like, I already know who got cut because it was already Schefter sent out the tweet. This guy's not on the team. That guy's not on the team.
But most of them don't make the team.
And most of them don't make the team anyways.
And even if they do, we don't hear about him after game 2
exactly.
again in the next year.
I think the best player they've shown in this is Darren Waller. And they were like, he's trying to revitalize his career. And he became a great tight end for a couple of years.
Puka Nacua is week to week with a knee injury. There's a little update for you. And one of the stories that I'm really enjoying following is the quarterback battle in Pittsburgh.
Oh.
Just Russell Wilson, Justin Fields. Seems like a lot of people in Pittsburgh are leaning towards Fields should be the guy, and the highlights have been better. But Russ is the established guy. And will Russ even show up if he doesn't win the job? I know he's on a vet minimum deal. I'm watching that one closely. It's been fun.
I got a quarterback that was maybe being forgotten about a little bit that talked this weekend. We'll get to that tomorrow. And then you mentioned a team.
Nice little tease.
Their quarterback battle might be flying right under the radar, and it might be one of the biggest surprises, I think, in the whole league.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dirty tease.
It's football season, buddy. You only have so many segments here on the show. We were only 6 to 10 for Big Ten Media Day.
Yeah.
If we were 6 to 10,
we need to expand.
If we're going to 10 a.m., we'd have maybe some more football.
Yeah. SMU Dirty Poll tomorrow.
Yep.
7:30. We'll go to Dallas, Texas. and talk SMU as they have big expectations in their first year in the ACC. The Dirty Poll went to Iowa State today for a preview of the Cyclones. Bill Seals, really good stuff from him previewing Iowa State. We also had Andrew Greif on live from Paris, France, talking Olympics. So go check those, 1080thefan.com, at Dirt and Sprague, and at 1080thefan. Hope you had a great weekend, everybody. Thanks so much for being a part of our Monday. Thanks, everybody, for watching on YouTube. Make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel before you close it down. We will talk to you tomorrow at 6 a.m. Calling us next. You're listening to 1080 The Fan.
I'm Nick Ashew, here to help you beat the books with BetQL. The second